You know how sometimes you stumble across writings that just feel different, like they hold secrets, hinting at deeper meanings behind things you thought you knew?
Absolutely. And today, we're diving into exactly that kind of material, the Book of Enoch.
Right. Specifically, we're looking at it through the lens of Erik H. Jansen's work. He sees these ancient texts, that's 1, 2, and 3 Enoch, as like a theological key.
A key to unlocking some big biblical mysteries. That's the idea. And our mission today, using Jansen's framework, is to see just how these books might shed light on some really tough questions.
Questions that have been around forever, really.
Exactly. We're talking the origin of evil, that whole messianic hope thread, even those really intense mystical visions of God. It's all potentially connected.
In Jansen's project, it's not just one thing, is it? He's tackled this from a few angles.
Yeah, it's quite comprehensive. There are articles, ebooks based on his retellings, this deep dive exploration, and even a full soundtrack album he produced.
Under his artist name, J30K.
Right. He's a drum and bass and dubstep producer, and he's created original tracks for each book, 1, 2, 3, and 4 Enoch.
Okay, fascinating. So let's start with the basics. 1 Enoch is not like one book written by one person at one time.
Not at all. Think of it more like a collection, a library almost, put together over centuries. The oldest bits, especially what's called the Book of the Watchers, that's chapters 1 to 36, are really ancient.
Oh, ancient are we talking?
We're talking 3rd century BCE. We have linguistic evidence, Aramaic and Hebrew fragments from the Dead Sea Scrolls, plus archaeology from Qumran backing that up.
Wow. So this gives us a real window into that Second Temple period, doesn't it? Between like 515 BCE and 7 DCE.
Precisely. A crucial time for Jewish thought, which obviously fed into early Christianity. And other parts of 1 Enoch, like the heavenly luminaries or the dream visions, they also seem to come from that same period.
What about the other sections?
Well, the Book of Parables seems a bit later, maybe late 1st century BCE or early 1st CE. And then the Book of Exhortations kind of wraps it up, possibly with even later additions.
And it doesn't stop with 1 Enoch. There's 2 Enoch too.
Yeah.
Jansen places it where?
He suggests 1st century CE Egypt. And that one's interesting because it really shows this mix of Jewish theology and Hellenistic thinking, that Greek cultural influence. It's mainly survived in Old Slavonic, oddly enough.
And 3 Enoch. That comes much later.
Yeah, quite a bit later, probably somewhere between the 3rd and 6th centuries CE. And this one is deep into Jewish Hechelot mysticism, that tradition focusing on visions of God's throne room ascending through heavenly palaces.
Right, the Merkava mysticism. And that's where Enoch himself gets transformed.
Exactly, into the angel Metatron. It's an incredible concept.
But there's this persistent idea, especially with 1 Enoch, that maybe, just maybe, parts of it go back to the actual Enoch, the guy from Genesis who walked with God.
It's a powerful tradition. I mean, think about it. He lived so early on, so close to creation. It gives this idea a certain weight, like maybe he had some unique insight.
And the idea that this knowledge somehow survived the flood, maybe on the ark.
It shows how much respect these writings must have had. And 2 and 3 Enoch, as Jansen points out, they really build on that foundation. 2 Enoch goes into ethics and cosmology, the universe's structure.
While 3 Enoch is more about that intense, personal, mystical experience.
Right. But, with texts this old, things get complicated. We find fragments in different languages, Aramaic, Greek, Ge'ez, Slavonic. Parts were lost, things were added.
But the fact they circulated so widely
tells you they were addressing the big questions people had back then. Judgment, cosmic order, redemption. And they were definitely picking up influences from Greek and Persian culture too.
Okay, so when we read these, Jansen emphasizes they aren't always literal history, right? Like the Bible itself, there's vision, allegory.
Exactly. You have to remember how people communicated back then. Metaphors, parables, symbols. These were standard tools, especially if we're talking about divine or spiritual things.
Like Enoch's journeys through heaven. They're described in visions, dreams. Trying to put that into plain words would be tough. Fiery thrones, huge angels, God's chariot.
The Merkava, yeah. How else could you describe it? So symbolism becomes key, and Jansen makes a great point comparing it to Jesus using parables.
Right. Even his disciples sometimes struggled to get the deeper meaning.
It's a similar principle. You see historical stuff like the flood in 1 Enoch mixed with these big cosmic maps in 2 Enoch and mystical visions in 3 Enoch. It's a blend.
So for you listening, the idea is to approach it with an open mind. Look for the layers, decode the symbols. It's not just surface level reading.
Now, one of the most compelling things is how 1 Enoch connects directly to the Bible. Jansen really stresses this. Take the book of Jude, verses 14 and 15.
Oh yeah, Jude quotes Enoch directly, doesn't he?
He does. It was also about these that Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied, saying, "Behold, the Lord came with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment on all." And it goes on.
And that quote.
It's almost a perfect match for 1 Enoch chapter 1, verse 9. That's huge. It strongly suggests Jude saw 1 Enoch as reliable, as prophetic.
Wow. And are there other links? Maybe less direct.
Definitely. Hebrews 11.5, talking about Enoch being taken by God so he didn't see death, that clearly taps into the Enoch tradition. And a lot of the apocalyptic imagery in Revelation
Feels very similar to 1 Enoch.
It really does. Even in the Old Testament, Daniel 7's visions of a messianic figure have parallels.
What about 2 and 3 Enoch? Jansen finds connections there too, even if they aren't quoted directly.
Yeah, indirect links. With 2 Enoch, Paul's mention in 2 Corinthians 12 of being caught up to the third heaven. Well, 2 Enoch describes multiple heavens in detail. It suggests a shared cosmic view.
And its ethical teachings.
They really echo prophets like Micah, especially Micah 6.8, about justice and mercy. Then with 3 Enoch, that intense vision of the Merkava, God's chariot throne.
Sounds a lot like Ezekiel 1.
Undeniably. And Metatron's super exalted status in 3 Enoch. It resonates with how Hebrews 1 talks about Christ being exalted above the angels.
So these books were clearly floating around, influencing thought, even if they didn't make the final cut for most Bibles. Which begs the question, why not?
It's complicated, as Jansen explains. Several factors played a role. First, when the Hebrew canon was being formalized, maybe around the 1st century CE, the focus was really on Hebrew works tied directly to the Torah and known prophets.
And the Enoch books, being more apocalyptic, mystical, maybe didn't quite fit that mold for some leaders.
Possibly. Plus, Jansen talks about the speculative content. All those detailed angel hierarchies, cosmic trips. Maybe some saw it as going too far beyond accepted scripture.
And 2, Enoch had Hellenistic influences. 3 Enoch was very mystical, maybe less appealing to the rabbinic mainstream as it developed.
That likely played a part. Then, for the Christian canon, even though 1 Enoch was popular early on, Jude quotes it, by the 4th century, the church fathers really wanted texts with clear apostolic links.
And when Enoch didn't have that direct apostle connection, 2 and 3 Enoch came even later, so they were seen as less authoritative for Scripture.
Right. Circulation was probably also an issue. If they weren't widely available everywhere, that would hurt their chances.
Jansen mentions other things too, like authorship, attributed to Enoch, but probably compiled later.
Yeah, that could make them seem less weighty than, say, Moses, even though we know the Torah likely had later edits too. But Moses' authority was foundational.
And the calendar thing in 1 Enoch, the solar calendar clashing with the Jewish lunar calendar.
That definitely could have caused friction, especially when rabbinic authorities were trying to unify practices.
Also, Enoch's direct walk with God. Maybe that downplayed the need for priests or temples, which became more central over time.
That's a subtle but important point Jansen raises. It could have felt challenging to developing religious structures in both Judaism and Christianity.
But maybe the biggest factor, especially for 1 Enoch, was the Son of Man prophecy, chapters 37 and 71.
Ah, yes, that's crucial. This messianic figure in 1 Enoch is very powerful, very divine. Jesus uses this title for himself. So after Christianity emerged,
Jewish circles became suspicious of 1 Enoch because of that strong link to Jesus.
Exactly. It became controversial. And for Christians, maybe it felt a bit redundant once those ideas were cemented in the Gospels. So a mix of factors led to their exclusion from most canons.
But even though they were excluded, Jansen argues they're still incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. Historically, they're a goldmine. 1 Enoch tells us so much about Second Temple Jewish thought. 2 Enoch gives insights into the Egyptian Jewish diaspora. 3 Enoch opens up later Jewish mysticism.
And just as literature, they're powerful. Those visions are intense, unforgettable.
Totally. Theologically, they are influential, shaping mysticism, other writings, even Christian ideas about the end times. Themes like justice, hope, divine glory, they still hit home.
And for understanding the Bible itself, Jansen sees them as a bridge, right? Connecting Old and New Testament.
Yes, clarifying obscure bits, giving context for New Testament beliefs, which leads us right into one of the most fascinating examples.
Genesis 6, that really strange passage about the sons of God and the Nephilim. Verses 1 to 4. It's always been a bit of a head-scratcher.
Definitely enigmatic. Who are the sons of God? Who are the Nephilim? Jansen argues that 1 Enoch, specifically the Book of the Watchers, holds the key.
So 1 Enoch explains them?
It gives a very detailed account. It says the sons of God were actually fallen angels, the Watchers. Leaders like Semyaza and Azazel supposedly led a rebellion, abandoning heaven because they lusted after human women.
Wow. That's a Quite a story. It certainly paints Genesis 6 in a different light.
It does, and these forbidden unions produced the Nephilim giants who brought violence and chaos. The Watchers also taught forbidden knowledge, weapons, magic, astrology, corrupting humanity further.
And God's response.
According to 1 Enoch, the Watchers were bound in an abyss, and the flood cleansed the earth. But here's the crucial part Jansen highlights. The spirits of the Nephilim, born from this unnatural union, didn't just disappear.
They remained.
Yes, as evil spirits, disembodied, filled with the same lusts as their giant forms, but now seeking bodies to inhabit. Jansen connects this directly to biblical demonic possession, like the story in Mark 5.
So, 1 Enoch provides this backstory for the origin of evil spirits and the spiritual warfare we see in the Bible, making it a link to Genesis 6.
A very significant link, according to this interpretation. And Genesis 6 isn't the only place Nephilim pop up, is it?
No, Jansen points to Numbers 13.33. The spies in Canaan say they saw Nephilim, giants that made them feel like grasshoppers. That matches Genesis in 1 Enoch.
Right. There's also Ezekiel 32.27, which mentions mighty men, the Giborim. That's the same Hebrew word used for Nephilim in Genesis 6.
But the connection there is less certain.
Yeah, Jansen notes the context in Ezekiel seems to point more towards powerful human warriors, not necessarily the half-angelic beings of 1 Enoch. So it's more speculative. Numbers 13 is much more direct.
So 1 Enoch really provides the framework for understanding who these Nephilim were in that cosmic conflict.
Precisely. Now, another massive contribution of 1 Enoch, which Jansen emphasizes, is the figure of the Son of Man in the Book of Parables, chapters 37 to 71.
This is the messianic prophecy part.
Yes, and it's incredibly detailed. This Son of Man is portrayed as a heavenly judge, someone who existed before creation, with a hidden name, immense power. He sits on a throne of glory, judges sinners, and ushers in renewal for the righteous.
And the parallels to Jesus calling himself the Son of Man
are uncanny. Think of Mark 14.62. Jansen argues this is a clear prophecy of Christ, remarkable given how early parts of 1 Enoch are.
So for people back then who knew 1 Enoch, when Jesus used that title,
it would have immediately brought this powerful divine figure to mind. Jansen notes there's really no other text from that time presenting a messianic figure quite like this.
But that's also why it caused such outrage, right, as Jansen points out.
Exactly. Because the Son of Man in 1 Enoch isn't just a human leader. He's heavenly, has divine authority. So when Jesus claims that title, especially saying he'll sit at God's right hand and come on the clouds,
like in Mark 14.62 again,
the religious leaders saw it as blasphemy. Jansen quotes John 10.33. They wanted to stone him. Okay, you being a man, make yourself God. That reaction makes perfect sense if they understood the Son of Man through the lens of 1 Enoch.
For them, Jesus was claiming divine status, threatening their whole understanding of God.
And their authority. So Jansen connects this directly to the push for Jesus' crucifixion. His identification with 1 Enoch, Son of Man, was a fundamental challenge they couldn't tolerate.
It really shows how 1 Enoch can unlock our understanding of Jesus' identity and why he was rejected.
Moving on to 2 Enoch, Jansen highlights its unique contribution, the journey through 10 heavens. It's this amazing cosmology, chapter 3 to 22, showing creation ordered all the way up to God's throne.
10 heavens. Can you give us a glimpse?
Well, the first deals with things like rain and wind storage. The third is described as containing paradise, but also a place of punishment for the wicked. And the 10th, Erevoth, is where Enoch sees God's face glowing like iron made burning hot. It really paints this picture of God's absolute sovereignty.
And we see echoes of this elsewhere.
Again, Paul's third heaven in 2 Corinthians hints at a similar multi-layered cosmology. And that description of God's glory in Erevoth, it resonates with Revelation 4, or even Exodus 24's description of God's glory like a consuming fire.
And 2 Enoch isn't just about cosmology. Jansen mentions ethical teachings, too.
Right. Chapters 24 to 66 have these exhortations on mercy, peer offerings, justice, very much in line with the prophets, like that call in Micah 6.8 to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
So 2 Enoch presents the heavens like a ladder to God.
In a way, yes. And Enoch's own transformation up there in Erevoth emphasizes this hope of drawing near to God, connecting earth and heaven, urging righteousness.
Which brings us finally to 3 Enoch and Enoch becoming Metatron. This builds on Genesis 5.24, right? Enoch being taken by God.
Exactly. Jewish mysticism took that and ran with it. In 3 Enoch, Enoch is transformed into this immense angelic figure, Metatron, the Prince of the Presence. He guides Rabbi Ishmael through the 7 heavenly palaces, the Hekalat, towards the Merkava, God's throne chariot.
And Metatron has incredible power.
He's given 72 names of power, a throne right next to God's. He acts as a scribe, a mediator. Jansen stresses how this symbolizes God's power to elevate humanity.
It's like Moses' closeness with God, but taken to a whole new celestial level.
Right, and this Heckalot tradition invites this deep, worshipful approach to God's throne. Again, you see parallels, the Merkava echoes Ezekiel 1 and Revelation 4. Metatron's role has similarities to how Hebrews 1 describes the exalted Christ.
Jansen offers a really profound theological reflection here, doesn't he? About inverse movements.
Yeah, it's fascinating. God becoming human in Jesus, moving down. And a human, Enoch, becoming this angelic figure, Metatron, moving up. Two opposite paths, one through suffering and resurrection, the other via direct ascent, both revealing God's amazing grace.
It's a powerful contrast. So 3 Enoch's key, according to Jansen.
It's about intimacy with God. Metatron, once human, now invites us into that closeness, blending mysticism with wonder and a sense of connection.
So looking at all 3, 1, 2, and 3, Enoch Jansen's project treats them together.
Yeah.
Why? They have different origins, different times.
But they form this complementary legacy, all stemming from Enoch's vision. 1 Enoch, from the Second Temple era, gives us the Nephilim, the Son of Man, influencing the New Testament. It sets this apocalyptic stage: sin, judgment, hope.
2 Enoch, 1st century CE, focuses more on cosmology, ethics, the heavens, echoing Paul and Micah.
And 3 Enoch, later mysticism, 3rd, 6th century CE, gives us Metatron, the Merkava, with parallels in Ezekiel and Hebrews. Together, Jansen argues, they paint this full picture of Enoch: prophet, traveler, exalted servant.
And collectively, they deepen our grasp of huge biblical themes, from evil's origins to God's kingdom.
They really act as connectors, linking Old and New Testaments, enriching our view of God's plan, calling us to righteousness and wonder. Jansen sees them as visionary keys.
So 1 Enoch explains the Nephilim demons and prophesies the Son of Man.
2 Enoch shows cosmic order and calls for holiness.
And 3 Enoch reveals mystical closeness to God through Metatron.
And the fact they were cited or reflected in the Bible, respected or early on, shows their value, even if most canons eventually excluded them, except, importantly, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, where 1 Enoch is still scripture.
And Jansen's retellings? They aim to make these complex texts more accessible today, highlighting how they connect the Testaments.
Exactly. Which brings us back to that striking opening in 1 Enoch itself.
The quote Jansen uses, "The words of the blessing of Enoch, wherewith he blessed the elect and righteous, who will be living in the day of tribulation, not for this generation, but for a remote one, which is for to come."
Think about that. If parts of this are from Enoch, 7th from Adam, words written near the dawn of time aimed at a generation far in the future facing tribulation. It's staggering.
And Jansen leaves us with that huge question, directed right at you, the listener. Could we be that remote generation? Are we living in that twilight?
It's a powerful thought. And to help you explore it, Erik H. Jansen's project is really comprehensive. He's done these accessible retellings of 1, 2, and 3 Enoch.
That's right.
And he does something different with the order of 1 Enoch.
Instead of the traditional 5-section structure, which can sometimes feel a bit disjointed, he's reordered the material thematically. His retelling follows more of a spiritual progression, starting with the Watcher's fall and judgment, then the cosmic order in the Book of Luminaries, moving to history and redemption in the dream visions, the messianic hope in the parables, and ending with Noah's story and the final exhortations.
Trying to create a clearer narrative arc.
Exactly. Focusing on the spiritual journey within the text, making it maybe flow a bit better for someone reading it today.
And then he adds something totally new for Enoch.
Yes, that's his own creative addition, extending the tradition. 4 Enoch is set in a kind of dystopian future. It follows a character named Emma Carter, who's struggling with her faith in a pretty bleak world, and then she gets called by Metatron.
Wow, okay. So bringing Enochian themes into the present or future.
Precisely. He weaves in parallels to biblical books. You see echoes of Revelation with things like surveillance technology, Joel's prophecy of a blood-red moon, the Son of Man figure like in Ezekiel and Revelation, even a prodigal son dynamic from Luke. But the core themes remain: justice, the fight against evil, redemption, just in a modern context.
That sounds fascinating.
And there are podcasts for each book, like this deep dive.
Yes, roughly 15-minute deep dives for each of the 4 books, also compiled into one video if you prefer. But the really unique part, I think, is the music.
Ah, the soundtrack.
Yes.
Yeah, he's also a drum and bass and dubstep artist. Goes by the name J30K.
Jansen has created an original EP with drum and bass and dubstep tracks inspired by each book.
The idea is to provide this immersive auditory dimension to the texts, enhancing the themes and the mood of each section.
Drum and bass for the Book of Enoch, that's definitely different.
It is, but it's an attempt to connect with the material in a new way, using sound to capture the intensity, the mystery, the cosmic scale of it all. It really shows the different ways these texts can resonate today, academically, creatively, even musically.
The whole soundtrack is available as an EP, or you can find the individual tracks paired with each book. It adds this whole other dimension, really immersive.
Yeah, the soundtrack includes 8 tracks. The idea is to provide a unique sonic atmosphere for each of the different books, or maybe the sections of the retellings.
And the project includes some bonus material too, right, on the soundtrack?
It does. It includes 4 exclusive bonus tracks. These were crafted by J30K, collaborating with Andy Dr. Salayer and Gloomy. So adding even more dimensions to this exploration through sound.
So he's using writing, analysis, podcasting, music, trying to bring Enoch's world to life for us today.
It really seems that way. So wrapping up our deep dive today, the main takeaway, drawing on Erik H. Jansen's work, is that these books of Enoch offer some really profound ways to look at the Bible.
They give us this unique lens on big things. Where evil comes from, who the Messiah is, how ancient people saw the cosmos, even the potential for humans to be elevated spiritually.
We definitely encourage you to check out Erik H. Jansen's work if this has sparked your interest. His Substack page has the retellings and the podcasts for each book.
And seriously, give that J30K soundtrack a listen. It's a really creative way to engage with this ancient, powerful material.
So as you think about all this, the Watchers, the Son of Man, Metatron, Enoch's visions for a distant future, maybe ask yourself, what relevance do these ancient warnings and promises, these incredible visions, hold for us today? In our world right now? What truths might still be waiting to be unlocked?
Something to think about. We'll see you next time for another Deep Dive. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're starting something pretty special. It's the first of an 8-part journey into the Book of Enoch.
That's right, an absolutely fascinating collection of texts.
And we're kicking things off using Erik H. Jansen's retelling as our guide, focusing today on one Enoch, the Book of the Watchers.
Yeah, it's a great way in. Jansen really brings the narrative to life. If you know Genesis 6, this expands on that dramatically.
It really does. So for this first deep dive, we're looking squarely at these beings, the Watchers. Who were they? What did they do?
Exactly. And what were the consequences? Jansen sets the scene beautifully, describing this pristine early world.
He does. You get this sense of harmony, gentle melodies of God's creation, rivers like silver threads, whispering forests, just idyllic.
Almost too idyllic, maybe. Because Jansen also introduces this subtle feeling of unease through Enoch himself.
Ah, right. Enoch, this quiet, devout man, already sensing a subtle disharmony before anything obvious happens.
Yeah, it adds this layer of tension right from the start. Suggests maybe paradise was already fragile. What do you think that adds?
Well, it makes the fall, when it comes, feel almost inevitable, or at least it makes the loss feel sharper, like something precious was poised to break.
Good point. And then we meet Enoch properly. He's not a king or a warrior.
No, he's described as living this simple life. Labor, prayer, constantly seeking God, spending nights reaching for that divine connection. Deeply spiritual.
And that devotion leads to this incredible encounter and that initial vision he has. Wow, it's huge.
Oh, absolutely. The light, the heavens parting.
The throne of fire, 10,000 angels. It really gives you a scale of the celestial reality involved.
But what's interesting, even in that description of divine glory, Jansen makes it clear the earth already has problems. Human folly, he calls it.
So God's concern isn't just abstract. It's a reaction to things already going wrong down here.
Precisely. It sets up the main conflict we're digging into today.
Which is the betrayal of the Watchers. These aren't minor figures. They were entrusted with Earth's care, right? A huge responsibility.
A massive one. Jansen describes them as, originally loyal, beautiful, strong, celestial beings. So their fall isn't just a slip-up. It's a conscious turning away.
From a position of real privilege and duty.
Exactly. And that gathering, 200 of them on this mountain of crystal and fire, it's very dramatic.
Almost ceremonial, but for something dark. Was it unanimous, do we think?
Yeah.
Or just led by the loudest voice?
The focus in Jansen's retelling is really on Semyaza. His speech is apparently quite persuasive, driven by lust for human women. He describes them like flowers in a garden forbidden to us. That forbidden part seems key. It's transgression, not just desire.
The allure of breaking the rules. And then specific watchers step up with their own contributions to this rebellion. Azazel, for example.
Yeah, Azazel. He promises to teach warfare, forging iron weapons, and that line, "With iron they shall rule." Chilling.
What's the immediate impact of just that one gift?
Well, it's fundamental, isn't it? Sophisticated weapons, organized violence, it escalates conflict, creates hierarchies based on force. A total shift.
Then you have Barakel, revealing astrology, the dance of planets.
Mm.
It sounds less overtly harmful at first glance.
Maybe less direct, yeah. But it's subtle. Instead of looking only to God, people start trying to read their fate in the stars. It kind of distances them from the divine, maybe. Lessens free will, perhaps.
Okay. And Kokabel offering the names of the stars for dominion over the night.
Similar idea, right. It's about control. Extending human ambition, or maybe watcher ambition, through humans into the heavens. Knowledge used for power, maybe pride.
And Tamil with incantations, words that bind the soul. That sounds much more overtly manipulative.
Definitely. It's like spiritual manipulation, shortcuts to power, spells, controlling others, undermining their autonomy.
And Armaro's teaching cosmetics, the art of beauty, cosmetics that blind hearts. This feels different, more social maybe.
Yeah, it's focused on the superficial, using outward appearance to deceive or manipulate, valuing the external over the internal. Could lead to vanity, pride, deception in relationships.
It's quite a list. Each one seems like it could be twisted from knowledge into corruption. And they seal it with an oath.
A solemn oath, yeah. Jansen emphasizes that. It binds them together, makes it a collective, deliberate act, no turning back.
And then they descend. Their light dims, the heavens weep, the earth groans. It's like creation itself is reacting.
It really emphasizes that cosmic connection. Their actions aren't in a vacuum. They affect everything.
And the consequences play out exactly as they promised, don't they? Azazel teaches war, and boom, battlefields appear.
Right. Barakel's astrology leads to building altars to planets. Kokabel's star knowledge tempts kings. Tamil's incantations bring manipulative spells.
Armaro's cosmetics fuel seduction and pride. And you mentioned Asel, too, bringing mind-altering herbs.
Yes, adding another layer. Confusion, maybe madness. It just destabilizes things further.
So the world transforms. Peaceful villages become battlefields. Cities rise on slavery. It's a bleak picture. And Enoch's watching all this.
And reflecting. That line, what is knowledge if it chains the soul? What is power if it only destroys? It hits hard.
It really does. It questions the whole notion of progress when it's detached from morality.
Absolutely. Knowledge without wisdom, power without compassion. It's destructive.
Which inevitably leads to God's judgment. Enoch witnesses this in the throne room. The contrast must have been staggering.
Immense divine power versus these. Diminished fallen beings, their glory gone.
And then desperation. They ask Enoch, a human, to plead their case. Semyaza kneeling before him. What a reversal.
It shows how righteous Enoch is perceived, even by them. He has a connection they've severed. They see him as their only hope for intercession.
But the answer is no. God's rejection is firm. And the consequences extend to their children, too.
Yeah, it underlines the severity. Divine justice isn't arbitrary. Actions have repercussions, even across generations, it seems.
You can just imagine Enoch having to go back and deliver that news. The weight of it.
Heavy indeed, and their reactions show their different characters, even then. Semyaza apparently weeps, but Azazel remains defiant.
No remorse there.
Seems not. Which then brings us to the Nephilim.
Right. The offspring. Jansen's description is terrifying. Giants, glowing eyes, powerful voices.
Yeah.
Just fundamentally wrong, unholy.
They are the physical result of the Watcher's sin. Unnatural beings disrupting everything. Their existence itself is a problem, let alone their actions.
And their actions are pure destruction, trampling the earth, consuming everything, building blood altars.
Yeah, just terrorizing humanity. That quote from the old woman is heartbreaking. They eat everything, Enoch, even our hope.
Ugh. That captures the despair. It's not just physical resources, it's the spirit being crushed.
Exactly. Hope itself is consumed.
And Enoch sees this firsthand. A ravaged valley, a blood-soaked Nephilim. And he asks again, what is strength if it only destroys? What is beauty if it is forged into chains?
It's that same theme reinforced by this monstrous reality. Strength becomes brutality. The Watcher's beauty, corrupted, leads to this horror.
And the Watchers themselves, they don't stop corrupting things even after the Nephilim are born, do they?
No, the influence continues. Semyaza might have regrets, but still rules with pride. Azazel keeps teaching war. Barakel's astrology deepens idolatry. Kokabel's star stuff fuels more pride.
Hamiel's incantations cause chaos. Armaros' cosmetics mask pride. SL's herbs. It just keeps spreading.
It's like the initial sin just keeps rippling outwards, contaminating everything it touches.
But then there's another layer of horror. When the Nephilim die.
Ah, yes. Their spirits don't just disappear, they become these malevolent, restless entities.
Disembodied spirits plaguing humanity, whispering evil, causing possession. That's terrifying.
It is. It suggests the spiritual pollution lingers even after the physical giants are gone. A constant, unseen negative influence.
It's so dark. But amidst it all, Enoch prays for light, for mercy. That's the flicker of hope.
It is. And that moment with the child in the abandoned market, why do they hate us? So simple, so raw.
And Enoch's answer about the shadow within them, but also about God's love still enduring. It's a small comfort, but it's something.
It shows his role isn't just witnessing, it's also offering some spiritual guidance, some perspective in the midst of chaos.
And the narrative makes it clear that the prayers of the righteous, people like Noah, are reaching God.
Yes, that's crucial. It signals that humanity's plight isn't ignored. Divine intervention is coming.
So God commands Enoch again, this time to proclaim the judgment that's coming. He has to tell both humans and the Watchers.
He really becomes the prophet here, the messenger of divine wrath. It's a massive burden.
And even then, knowing judgment is coming, Enoch prays alone in the desert, seeking mercy within that justice.
It shows his deep compassion, his understanding that God is both just and merciful. And that subtle sign that God hears him. It affirms his unique connection.
Then the judgment really begins. The earth as a bleeding wound. You feel the scale of the damage.
Yeah, that imagery is powerful. The world is deeply injured, needing drastic healing.
And Enoch sees the heavenly court convene. The Watchers are brought before the throne, powerless now. Their pleas fail.
It's the moment of accountability. Even these mighty celestial beings face the consequences. Justice is inescapable.
And the archangels are tasked with carrying out the sentence. Raphael binding Azazel.
In the desert of ash. Fitting, isn't it? The one who brought war and destruction is confined to a desolate wasteland.
And Michael binding Semyaza and the others in the abyss.
Yeah, cast into darkness until the final judgment. It symbolizes their spiritual state and removes their immediate influence.
Then Uriel brings news to Enoch. The Nephilim will be destroyed by a flood. But Noah will be spared.
Because of his purity. That's the grace within the judgment. The corruption needs purging, but righteousness provides a path forward.
Angels descend with swords. God promises to cleanse creation. It's intense.
A total reset, washing away the sin that has completely saturated the world.
And the flood itself. Heavens opening, waters rising, the Nephilim finally silenced. The world becomes just water.
A sobering image of judgment executed. But then, the ark. Noah survives.
That single point of light in the darkness. God's grace preserving a remnant. Enoch feels sorrow for the lost world, but gratitude for Noah.
It captures that complex reality, destruction and preservation side by side.
But the story doesn't end with a perfectly clean slate, does it? Those Nephilim spirits.
No, they remain. The disembodied spirit still roaming, still tempting, still possessing. A lingering shadow.
So the spiritual battle continues even after the flood.
Apparently so. The consequences of the Watcher's sin echo on.
But Uriel gives some assurance, right? That these spirits will wander until the final judgment.
Yes, and that the righteous, Noah's descendants, will ultimately prevail. There's a long-term hope, a promise that God's plan endures despite the ongoing struggle.
And so we leave Enoch, at the end of this part, awakening from these visions, writing them down. For us, essentially.
For future generations, yeah. As a warning, a guide. He feels God's presence, prays for the righteous for the world's rebirth.
Okay, so to wrap up this first deep dive into Jansen's Book of the Watchers, we've covered the Watchers' sin, the corruption they unleashed, the Nephilim, the spirits, the initial judgment.
And remember, this is just book 1 of 1 Enoch. There's still 2 Enoch, 3 Enoch, and even Erik Jansen's own contribution, 4 Enoch, to explore in our upcoming deep dives.
Absolutely. This first part lays such a crucial foundation. The themes are powerful: forbidden knowledge, abusing power, the consequences.
They really resonate, don't they? It makes you think.
It does, and maybe a thought for you, the listener, to carry forward. Where do we see echoes of these themes today? What constitutes forbidden knowledge in our time? How do we handle power responsibly?
Definitely something to ponder as we prepare for the next part of our exploration into the books of Enoch. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're jumping into our second of 8 deep dives exploring Erik H. Jansen's retelling of 1 Enoch.
That's right.
And today we're really focusing in on the Book of the Heavenly Luminaries.
Exactly. This section gives us this incredible ancient perspective on the cosmos.
Think of it as us trying to unpack that vision for you, how they saw the sun, the moon, the stars moving, and crucially, what it all meant to them.
Precisely. Jansen's work really brings Enoch's journey and the cosmic order revealed to him to life. Our goal here is to explore this ancient model, the mechanics, the significance.
Okay, let's get right into it. Jansen starts with this really powerful image, doesn't he? Enoch on a mountaintop watching the dawn. Not a king or anything, just this solitary figure, deeply connected spiritually. And he's seeing this contrast. The perfect light above versus a world below that's been, well, marred.
Yeah, and that contrast is so important. It sets up why he's receptive to this revelation. The earth, touched by the Watcher's chaos we talked about last time, creates this yearning for a purer order.
Which the heavens represent perfectly in this view.
Exactly.
And then comes this moment. It's almost like the sky just opens up. Jansen describes this gentle light, this stunning view. Enoch feels this pull, an ascent.
It's not forced, more like an invitation upwards.
Right, away from the earthly towards this, overwhelming beauty. You really get a sense of the privilege of that moment for him.
It definitely underscores the importance of what he's about to learn. He's not just looking. He's being chosen to receive this knowledge. It tells you how vital this celestial order was considered.
And then, boom. Uriel appears, the angel of wisdom, described as being as radiant as the sun itself.
A powerful image.
And his purpose is super clear, right?
Yeah.
Jansen's retelling says Uriel is there to show Enoch the secrets, the inner workings of the heavenly lights.
So he can understand God's precise order.
It's like getting the ultimate backstage pass to the universe, with the best guide possible.
And what's interesting is Uriel isn't just showing off wonders, he's explaining a system. Laws governing everything.
Which really speaks to that ancient emphasis on order, on predictability, as a sign of, divine intelligence.
Absolutely.
So Uriel starts with the big guy, the sun. Can you picture it? A chariot made of flames blazing across the sky.
Drawn by these incredibly devoted angels. Their wings practically made of light. It's quite something.
It really is. And the detail is amazing. They talk about a 364-day cycle for the sun.
Yeah, very specific. Moving through 12 gates, 6 in the east, 6 west, numbered south to north. It's not vague at all. It's a real model. Makes you wonder about their observations.
Totally. And how the sun uses those gates explains the seasons for them.
Exactly. In winter, it uses that first southern gate, shorter arc, less daylight.
Then for summer, it shifts way up to the 6th northern gate. That gives us those long, bright days. It's almost mechanical, the system they lay out.
Precisely. It emphasizes the consistency they saw. And they even break it down daily. The sun crosses a 12th part of the sky each day. Always measured, always regular.
And their year structure.
Yeah.
12 months, 30 days each. Plus those 4 extra days.
The 4 intercalary days, yes. Crucial for aligning the months with the seasons.
Jansen's retelling calls it a sacred measure of God's hand. Really highlights the intentional design they perceived.
And thinking about the context, this points towards a divinely ordained calendar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tied directly to the sun. This becomes really important later on.
Oh, absolutely. And the sun isn't just a clock, it's the life bringer. Jansen's version describes it poetically awakening spring, burning through summer, painting autumn.
And then cloaking winter in silver. It gives the seasons this active role, but all driven by the sun's unwavering cycle.
Yeah. And that image of the sun setting, resting in hidden chambers guarded by angels, then being reborn each morning.
It's a powerful symbol of renewal. And, as the text puts it, a daily testament to God's faithfulness.
Okay, now let's switch to the moon. Uriel calls it the sun's sister, but with a key difference, right? Borrowed light.
That distinction is absolutely critical in their cosmology. The moon is beautiful, yes, but secondary. Its light is reflected, and importantly, its role in timekeeping is seen differently here.
Its cycle is different too, isn't it? About 29.5 days to wax and wane. And it travels through 12 gates as well, 6 east, 6 west, so there's a parallel structure there.
A kind of cosmic symmetry, yes.
Okay.
But the rhythm is different. And crucially, its year adds up differently.
Right, 354 days for the lunar year.
Which creates that gap, about 10 days shorter than the sun's 364-day year. What sort of issues do you think that might cause in their view?
Well, the text is pretty clear on that. It's not just a number thing. It has real-world impacts. Farmers planting at the wrong time.
So like harvests, yeah.
And priests offering sacrifices on days that aren't synced up with the sun's cycle, with God's intended timing. It's presented as a source of major confusion.
Exactly. It brings up this critical point about the correct calendar versus human error. Uriel basically warns that the moon's beauty can actually be deceptive.
How so?
He suggests it can lead people to ignore the sacred order set by the sun. It's a stark warning about being misled, even by something beautiful.
Okay, so shifting from the moon, let's look up at the stars. Jansen's version calls them an infinite army of light, all praising God. Gives you a sense of scale.
It does. And the text stresses that every single star has a name, a purpose. They aren't just random dots.
They're seen as God's servants.
Yes, servants illuminating the night and constantly reminding people of his order. You get the sense they were keen observers of the night sky.
And they noted the patterns of predictable movements. It mentions constellations like the Pleiades and Orion.
Recognizable even today. Moving in that orderly fashion, reinforcing this idea of a meticulously designed cosmos.
And it gets even more detailed. Each star has a leader and a path known only to God.
That level of intricate detail just emphasizes the total control and knowledge attributed to the creator in this worldview. Everything accounted for.
But then there's the flip side, the fallen stars, linked to the Watchers we discussed before.
Right. They serve as celestial signs of judgment. Semyaza and Azazel get named specifically. It ties that story of rebellion directly into the fabric of the heavens.
And Uriel's comment here is pretty definitive. No star wanders without his will.
Even the fallen ones. It powerfully asserts God's ultimate sovereignty over everything, even transgression.
Okay, so after the lights, Uriel delves into deeper forces, like the winds, described as invisible rivers of divine breath. Beautiful imagery.
It is. And notice the pattern again, 12 gates for the winds too, 3 for each direction. North, south, east, west.
That's symmetry again. Sun, moon, winds, all structured around 12 gates.
It really drives home the idea of a unified, deliberate design. And assigning specific angels to winds, Raphael for the fertile north wind, Michael for the warm south wind, adds that layer of divine agency.
And the east and west winds bring storms, right? A reminder that these forces aren't always gentle.
Exactly. They can be instruments of change or testing. And again, there's a timing element, a 90-day cycle mentioned for each wind within its season, maintaining balance.
Then we get the seasons themselves, almost personified, sitting on thrones of light and time.
Spring with flowers, summer's golden glow, autumn's colors, winter's ice.
The imagery is so rich.
Personifying them gives them this sort of regal authority in the cosmic order. And, surprise, surprise, that 90-day cycle repeats, guarded by angels who open and close the seasonal gates right on schedule.
Circling back to the stars just briefly, Uriel hammers home that point again. Each star named led, loyal.
And that stark reminder, no star wanders without his will. It really is the central theme running through this whole section, divine order.
And it leads to this moment for Enoch where he sees it all, standing there, witnessing the whole cosmos working in perfect sync.
Which sets up Uriel's big statement, the core message, really. This is God's law. The heavenly luminaries obey, but mankind wanders.
Oof. Yeah, that contrast again.
That's the central tension.
And it leads straight into a pretty serious warning, doesn't it? Uriel shows Enoch a vision.
Yeah, a vision of a sinful city. And what's their big mistake? They're following the moon's calendar, the shorter one.
And the results. Disaster. Failed harvests, worship that's out of sync, chaos. Uriel says, their folly brings chaos. They have forgotten my laws. The earth suffers under their ignorance.
It's presented as a direct, unavoidable consequence. Ignore the divinely set solar calendar, and things fall apart, practically and spiritually.
The vision gets even darker, showing a future where sin increases and the sun, moon, stars themselves become witnesses against humanity.
Because people ignored God's rhythm, leading to droughts, harsh winters, even wars fueled by this calendar confusion. It paints a really bleak picture.
It really emphasizes how connected they saw everything. Messing with the cosmic timekeeping has massive ripple effects on Earth.
You can't separate the two in this worldview. Disregarding that natural revealed order brings suffering.
But it's not all doom and gloom, is it? There's a counter vision.
Thankfully, yes. A vision of the righteous, those who do follow the sun's cycle.
Well, and for them, their fields are fruitful, their prayers align with the seasons, everything works.
Harmony. And significantly, Noah is named among them.
Ah, okay, that's a key link.
Uriel says, their faith will restore the world. It's a powerful promise of redemption through alignment with divine law. Righteousness is living in sync with God's cosmic order.
And Noah's inclusion ties it to the lineage that survives judgment. It shows the lasting importance of sticking to these principles.
Exactly.
So finally, Uriel gives Enoch his mission, his great commission.
Which is?
To write it all down. Meticulously record these laws. The sun's path, the moon's warning, the stars, the winds, the angels guiding them. All for the righteous.
An immense responsibility. It highlights the purpose of his whole journey. He's not just seeing things. He's meant to be a conduit, a transmitter of this vital knowledge.
The act of writing it down is crucial for preserving it.
Absolutely.
And then that final vision, a new heaven and a new earth, healed, restored by the righteousness of those who lived in harmony with the cosmos. It's a beautiful endpoint.
It really is. And Uriel's last words to him are so potent. Go and be my witness. The world will fall, but God's order remains eternal.
Wow. Then we see Enoch back on Earth, looking up at the stars, but now with this huge sense of purpose, starting to write.
It brings it all full circle. Humanity might fail, but God's design endures. And Enoch's job is to make sure that knowledge isn't lost.
So wrapping up this deep dive into 1 Enoch, the Book of the Heavenly Luminaries, via Jansen's retelling, we've seen this incredibly detailed cosmic order.
An intricate system revealed to Enoch.
And the sun's 364-day cycle really stands out as the key marker of divine order, doesn't it?
Definitely. And the text constantly contrasts the obedience of the heavens with humanity's tendency to stray, especially by following that lunar calendar.
But it's more than just astronomy, isn't it? It's deeply tied to righteousness.
Absolutely. Aligning with God's cosmic laws, particularly the sun cycle, is presented as the path to restoration and blessing. Ignoring it leads to chaos.
It really makes you pause and think about how ancient people saw their place in the universe. Even though our science is different now, their detailed observations and the profound meaning they found in the sky, it's fascinating.
It is. It prompts you to consider, perhaps, what sense of connection to those cosmic rhythms we might have lost today.
Yeah. How might thinking about these ancient views, this perceived interconnectedness, maybe influence how we appreciate the cosmos and our own place in it? Something to ponder.
Definitely something to think about.
Join us next time as we continue our journey through the Book of Enoch. Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive.
Great to be back.
We are pushing on with our journey through the quite extraordinary Book of Enoch.
Definitely extraordinary.
And this time, we're really diving into 1 Enoch, the Book of Dream Visions, specifically using the retelling by Erik H. Jansen.
A fantastic resource for grappling with this text.
Absolutely. If you caught our first couple of deep dives on Enoch, you'll know this ancient text is just packed with fascinating, sometimes really strange material. So today, we're zeroing in on these dream visions. Our plan is to try and unpack these powerful allegories, these symbolic stories.
Yeah, get under the surface a bit.
Exactly. Try and uncover the layers of meaning in these dreams. And just as a reminder, this is our 3rd deep dive out of 8 planned for Jansen's retelling.
Right. And as we've, touched on before, the Book of Enoch, it's just massive for understanding early Jewish and Christian thought. Immense.
No question.
And this Book of Dream Visions is, it's a real cornerstone of that. It gives us these incredible symbolic narratives.
So the aim today isn't just to, list what happens in the dreams.
No, much more than that. We want to really explore the core themes. You've got divine judgment clashing with this persistent hope for redemption. That's what we're digging into.
Okay, great. Let's jump right in then. First big vision, the flood. Jansen's description of how Enoch's dream starts is so vivid.
It really is.
He sets the scene, right? Stillness of night, this temple made of simple, unhewn stone.
Yeah, almost primal.
And the air is thick with cedar wood and incense smells. Enoch himself is there, a righteous priest. What jumps out at you about that opening?
Well, it's the contrast, isn't it? You have this purity and simplicity in the setting.
Yeah.
And then this immense destruction is about to be revealed. That unhewn stone, maybe it symbolizes that direct, untainted connection to the divine.
Like Enoch himself.
Exactly. Uncorrupted. And the smells, the incense, it makes it feel sacred. Like this space is about to witness something huge, cosmically significant.
And then, bam, the vision hits. This overwhelming flood. Jansen calls it a divine cleansing, but it's way more than just rain, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We're talking mountains literally melting, oceans surging, stars falling out of the sky. It's like the whole world coming undone.
That sheer scale, what's the message there?
It just hammers home the gravity of the sin, doesn't it? The level of transgression that's happening.
Both human and celestial.
Right. The melting mountains, the falling stars, obviously not literal physics, but powerful symbols. They show the cosmic fallout of sin from humans and from those watchers we discussed before. Creation itself is like recoiling from this corruption.
And in the middle of all this terror, an angel shows up, gives Enoch the lowdown. What are the key reasons given for this cataclysm?
So the angel basically says, look, this is happening because of widespread human wickedness and, crucially, the rebellion of the Watchers.
Those angels who stepped way out of line.
Precisely. And the angel also points to the Nephilim, those monstrous giant offspring for the Watchers and human women, as another source of defilement. It's a judgment with several causes layered together.
But it's not all darkness, is it? There's a glimmer. Enoch sees Noah praying. Why is that single image so important here?
Noah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the crucial counterpoint. It shows that even in a world drowning in corruption, righteousness still exists.
Noah's still faithful.
Exactly. Noah's devotion shows the divine favor isn't totally gone. It sets up the idea that, okay, maybe not everything will be wiped out. And then you see the ark.
Right, this simple boat just floating on these, like, chaotic waters.
And Jansen really highlights that the ark is more than just, a survival vessel. It carries huge symbolic weight.
What kind of weight?
It becomes this potent symbol of hope, doesn't it? And divine preservation. It represents God's promise to save that righteous remnant.
A promise that even when everything seems lost, there's a chance for a new beginning.
Yes, through faithfulness. And why do you think that image resonates so much? The vessel in the storm. You see it everywhere.
Well, it taps into that deep human need for safety, I guess, for continuity. The idea that even when it all falls apart, renewal is possible.
That's a good way to put it. And that renewal comes specifically through Noah and his family, a new creation rising from the wreckage of the old.
So the flood isn't just an endpoint.
No, it's transformative. Noah's survival means creation can be reset, hopefully on a foundation of righteousness this time. It's judgment paving the way for a fresh start.
And the vision wraps up with the rainbow. Such a common symbol, but here, after that flood, what's the deeper meaning?
Well, it's not just a pretty weather effect, right? It's presented as a divine covenant, a promise.
Mercy after judgment.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how this symbol of peace immediately follows such immense destruction. It captures that tension you see in a lot of ancient texts. How can a just God also be merciful? The covenant becomes the framework for that ongoing relationship.
Okay, so after that huge world-altering vision, Enoch has another dream. And Jansen calls this one even stranger and wilder, the animal vision.
Yeah, that definitely grabs your attention.
Stranger than the flood. Okay.
And the symbolism shifts dramatically. We go from, water and falling stars to this complex allegory using animals.
From representing people.
And angels.
Exactly. Humanity, celestial beings, the whole sweep of history. And the setting changes too. Now it's a huge plane, but it's like pulsing, alive. What do you think that signifies?
A living stage, maybe, representing Earth or existence itself, always changing, always active.
Could be.
Oh.
It suggests a dynamic backdrop for this historical drama, and it kicks off with these two really striking figures. Large, radiant white bulls.
Adam and Eve.
That's the interpretation, yeah. Representing Adam and Eve in Eden, in that state of innocence. Their whiteness is key, purity, unblemished connection to God before the fall.
Then, naturally, the serpent enters the picture. Temptation, forbidden fruit. How does the animal allegory show this? The consequence is shown as a change in the plane itself. The vibrant colors fade.
The world is diminished.
Right. And new animals start appearing, the descendants of those first bulls. It mirrors human history unfolding after the expulsion from the garden. It visually links the fall to the state of the world.
And pretty quickly we see a conflict. A red bull appears, Cain, presumably.
That's the idea.
And it kills another bull, Abel. Stark imagery, the red color, violence.
Absolutely. Vividly symbolizing bloodshed, the first murder. It highlights how quickly the consequences of the fall spiral into violence and death entering the world.
And as the vision goes on, more bulls and cows appear, but their coats get darker and darker. What's that telling us about humanity's path?
The darkening coats track humanity's drift, doesn't it? The slide into sin, moral decay. Generation by generation, that initial purity fades, replaced by pride, greed, lust. It visually represents that growing distance from the Holy One.
And then comes maybe the weirdest part. Stars falling from the sky and mingling with the daughters of the bulls.
Yeah, pretty strange imagery.
This has to be the Watchers again, right? Allegorically.
Precisely. The fallen stars are the Watchers. Their fall represents their rebellion, crossing divine lines. And they're mingling with the bull's daughters, human women, symbolizes those forbidden unions.
The ones that corrupted everything.
Yes, described as an abomination to stress how unnatural and deeply sinful it was, corrupting both heaven and earth.
And the result, the Nephilim, these monstrous giants. Jansen points out how destructive they were. What do they stand for in the allegory?
As the offspring of that forbidden mix, they represent sin amplified, the widespread violence, the corruption that just consumed the earth. They symbolize the breaking of order, the terrible impact of disobedience.
And the angel steps in again to interpret this whole animal vision. What's the main takeaway from all this animal symbolism?
The angel explains it's basically world history in code, from creation to the end times. The animals, initially good creations, become symbols representing the actions, the deeds, the fates of humans and fallen angels, all leading toward judgment.
There's also that grim detail of the Nephilim destroying each other.
Yeah, that shows the self-destructive nature of evil, doesn't it? Even these powerful monsters are consumed by their own violence. Evil ultimately eats itself.
But it's not all dark. Amidst all this, white lambs appear. Who are they?
The white lambs are the righteous line, descendants of Adam who stay faithful despite all the wickedness around them.
Like Noah.
Exactly. And importantly, one lamb is specifically shown to resemble Noah, reinforcing his role as that beacon of faithfulness in a dark time.
And Enoch is told, again, write this down, why the emphasis on recording it?
It underlines the vision's importance, right? It's positioned as both a record of the past, God's perspective on history, and a prophecy for the future. It preserves this knowledge as a warning, but also as guidance.
Okay, so the animal vision continues, and now the focus stays on those white lambs, Noah's descendants, Israel trying to follow God, but, well, often stumbling.
Yeah, it reflects that ongoing struggle, doesn't it? The human tendency to stray, even after divine help or rescue. It mirrors those cycles of faithfulness and falling away you see throughout Israel's story.
Then comes a major figure, the great ram, leading his flock to the promised land, a powerful image of leadership.
Definitely. That great ram is generally seen as Abraham.
Ah, okay.
His faith leads his people, establishing that covenant relationship. It's a foundational moment in the allegory.
But the lambs still face trouble. Wolves and lions attack them. What are these predators?
They represent the big, oppressive empires that threatened and enslaved Israel historically. Think Egypt, Assyria, Babylon. It's a vivid way to show the persecution God's people face from external powers.
But the problems weren't just external, were they? The vision shows blind, corrupt shepherds, false prophets.
Right, leading the flock astray from within. These symbolize bad leadership, false teachings within Israel itself, people pulling the community away from God towards danger. It highlights internal challenges, too.
Yet even with these problems, figures like Moses emerge another white ram, leading them out of slavery. Later, David, Solomon. But the flock still keeps straying. It's this constant pattern. Rescue, then backsliding.
That cycle seems really central. It underscores that tension, doesn't it? Between humanity's potential for good and its pull towards sin. Even strong leaders and miracles don't completely fix it. The struggle is ongoing.
Then there's that really disturbing image, a tower made of bones and blood. What on earth does that represent?
Grim, isn't it? It serves as this stark symbol of, like, the accumulated cost of sin, all the disobedience, violence, rebellion throughout history piled up. A visual representation of spiritual death and destruction caused by turning away from God.
And the vision shows the lambs still being devoured by different predators representing successive kingdoms.
Yeah, lions, bears, leopards. It emphasizes the transient, often destructive nature of earthly empires.
And the vulnerability of the faithful.
Exactly. It suggests earthly power is temporary, unlike God's eternal kingdom.
But then, a major shift. A radiant white bull appears. Way more magnificent than anything before. This has to be the Messiah figure, right?
Absolutely. This is the climax building. Its unparalleled brilliance, its purity. It signals the arrival of the ultimate deliverer, the chosen one.
Come to bring God's kingdom and cleanse the earth.
Yes, this is the ultimate hope offered in the vision. God's final intervention to redeem creation, bring in that era of perfect righteousness and peace, the answer to all the suffering and straying.
And then you see all the animals, even the predators, bowing down to this white bull. What's that about?
That universal bow signifies the end of all conflict, the restoration of harmony, all creation submitting to the just, peaceful rule of the Messiah, ultimate reconciliation.
And that leads into the vision of the New Jerusalem, a city of crystal and gold open to the righteous.
This represents the final destination for the faithful, doesn't it? A realm of perfect purity, glory, eternal joy. the fulfillment of God's promises.
And the faithful lambs, they enter the city healed, radiant, a beautiful picture of redemption.
It signifies their complete restoration, their glorification after all the trials. Their radiance reflects that spiritual transformation, inheriting eternal life.
But there's also judgment. The fallen stars, the bad shepherds cast into a sea of fire.
Right, the final reckoning.
You're right.
It represents the ultimate just punishment for rebellion and leading others astray.
Yeah.
Good finally triumphs definitively over evil.
And the angel confirms it. God's kingdom is righteous and eternal.
The ultimate affirmation. It confirms the everlasting nature of God's rule, the victory of his plan. That's the bedrock of hope for the faithful.
So the final image is this cleansed earth, the new Jerusalem shining, righteous people from all nations living in joy. It's a powerful resolution.
It really is. A picture of total renewal, peace, harmony, righteousness finally prevailing. People from everywhere united with God. Hope fulfilled.
And again, the command. Write it down. Preserve this hope.
Exactly. It's meant to be a testament to God's promises, a reminder that even in the darkest times, there's this incredible future hope rooted in divine justice and redemption.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the Book of Dream Visions, drawing on Jansen's retelling, what are the big takeaways for you?
Well, these visions powerfully explore divine judgment, showing real consequences for sin, both human and angelic. But intertwined with that is this incredibly resilient hope.
Stemming from that faithful lineage.
Right, from Noah through the struggling lambs and ultimately pointing towards this messianic figure and a completely renewed creation, judgment and hope hand in hand.
And that use of allegory, the whole animal symbolism, it's such a potent way to get these complex ideas across, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The animal imagery allows for so many layers of meaning. It makes these ancient theological and historical concepts really vivid, memorable even. It invites you to think about history and God's plan in a totally unique way.
Yeah, it really does. It makes you think about how relevant these ancient ideas still are, Justice, redemption, that enduring human need for hope.
For sure. Those core themes, accountability, the chance for renewal, longing for a better future, they don't really age, do they? They push us even now to reflect on our own part in that bigger story.
Definitely leaves you wanting to ponder the symbolism and the messages in these dream visions a bit more personally. Well, that brings us to the end of this part of our journey.
Looking forward to the next one.
Join us next time as we continue our deep dive into the rich and still quite enigmatic Book of Enoch.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This is our 4th session digging into the Book of Enoch, and we're using Erik H. Jansen's fantastic retelling as our guide. Today, we're really honing in on a key section, 1 Enoch, the Book of Parables, and introduces this incredibly significant figure, the Son of Man. So the big question we're tackling, maybe the question for this whole series is, could this figure, this ancient Son of Man, actually be Jesus Christ? Jansen's work really helps bring this complex ancient text to life for us.
It really does. Jansen gives us this vivid starting point. Picture Enoch kneeling in the desert at sunset. Those colors in the sky, as Jansen paints them, they're not just pretty, They represent God's promises. And there's this whisper of wind carrying hope for Enoch, while he's burning inside with this longing for justice.
Yeah, that image is powerful. This figure filled with longing in that symbolic landscape really sets the scene. And then comes the key moment. He touches this crystalline stone, and bang, a vision hits him. A city just radiant with light, walls of glowing jasper, gates wide open. And inside, he sees the chosen one, depicted as a white bull whose coming will just remake the world. He feels like he's ascending, into this realm of redemption.
Exactly. It's not passive viewing for him. This is a calling, an invitation into understanding God's plan, really. This first vision, it sort of lays the groundwork for everything that follows.
Okay, so let's dive into that heavenly calling. His first stop, visually, is this throne room. And the description is just overwhelming. Grandeur beyond the heavens themselves. And the throne isn't just sitting there. It's alive, pulsing with fire, surrounded by blinding light and countless angels singing.
Right. And that sheer scale, the vibrancy, it tells you everything about the power and holiness of God in this worldview. It's not some distant God. It's active, dynamic, right at the heart of things.
And right there at the center is the Holy One, described as this indescribable flame of light, blinding yet comforting, full of wrath but also love. It's quite the paradox.
It is. And Enoch's reaction is totally understandable. He asks, why me?
Which is such a human question in the face of something so immense. What's the answer he gets?
The answer is key. It's because of his pure heart, his unwavering faith. He's been singled out. He's chosen specifically to see these parables, these secrets of righteousness, which need to be preserved for future generations, for a time when judgment and mercy will be fully revealed.
Right. And then an angel appears to guide him.
Yes, an angel described as radiant, like molten gold, sapphire wings, eyes full of ancient wisdom. This angel invites him on, well, basically a cosmic tour, to see God's creation and understand his glory through it.
A cosmic tour, I like that. What's the point of seeing all this creation?
It's symbolic, really. It's about grasping the design, the purpose woven into everything. The angel is revealing the principles of God's universe.
And the things he sees are incredible. Hidden chambers with named stars, guided by gem-winged angels. The Pleiades like a crown, Orion standing guard, constellations singing about faithfulness.
It paints a picture of a cosmos deeply connected to God's will. It's ordered. That detail, the singing constellations, it highlights the dependability of creation, especially when you think about the chaos the Watchers caused, which we talked about before.
Yeah, good point. And he also sees the winds, the seasons, all guarded by angels, following this perfect cycle. It's like the natural order itself is a rebuke to the Watchers' rebellion.
Exactly. It emphasizes God's inherent control, his sovereignty. Despite rebellion, the fundamental order holds. God's plan is still in place.
Then the angel shows him something different, a light. The place where the righteous rest. Their souls are finally at peace, at home in God's light. That must have been deeply comforting for Enoch, thinking of Noah, maybe.
Absolutely. It's a powerful image of hope, the ultimate reward, peace and joy, a total contrast to earthly struggles. And yes, mentioning Noah links it back, showing God's faithfulness to the righteous throughout history.
But then the vision shifts dramatically to darkness, an abyss, fiery chains, the place for the wicked, those who rejected God. Enoch trembles.
Understandably, it's terrifying. And he thinks of the Watchers again and those prideful kings on earth.
What does this stark contrast tell us about justice in Enoch's view?
It's crucial. Justice isn't just about reward, it's also about consequences. Real, severe consequences for defiance. And it applies to everyone, rebellious angels, powerful humans. It's universal judgment.
And the angel confirms this, right? God's judgment is righteous. Then, another major scene. A high mountain mirroring heaven and earth, and standing there is the Son of Man, clothed in light, eyes like fire, drawing everyone, righteous and wicked.
That mirroring is significant. It suggests he bridges the divine and the earthly. His presence on that mountain shows his authority over both realms. The light, the fire, it speaks to his divine nature, his power to reveal and to judge.
And the reactions are telling. The righteous look to him with hope, their faces literally shining, while the wicked just tremble, their pride completely shattered.
A powerful image of his impact.
So Enoch asks the obvious question, who is this?
And the angel's answer is foundational. He's the chosen one, the Son of Man who was before creation.
Before creation?
Yes. This establishes his preexistence. He's outside of earthly time. That has huge theological weight, divine origin, a role in creation itself.
And we see him before the throne next. A promise for the good guys, but a sword for the wicked.
Exactly. That reinforces his dual role, savior and judge. You see kings kneeling, earthly power submitting to divine authority, and the righteous singing, acknowledging him.
Then comes the command to Enoch. Write this parable, so the world knows my plan and holds on to hope until he comes.
A direct commission. His purpose is clear. Be a messenger, preserve this revelation. The writing itself becomes an act of obedience, transmitting these vital truths.
And we get that final image of him writing, the night sky, reminding him of it all. His pen moving faithfully, a powerful end to that part of the journey.
It really emphasizes his personal commitment. It's not just recording, it's faith in action.
Okay, moving to the judgment itself. Enoch is back in that intense light after the throne room vision. The heavens are singing about righteousness, and he feels the weight of these revelations. Then the angel pops up again. Behold now the parable of the judgment. The Son of Man comes to judge the earth.
Right. It's a seamless transition. The heavenly revelations lead directly to understanding divine accountability on earth. It's logical.
And what unfolds is this vast plain, the stage for the final judgment. Time feels like it's stopped. At the center, the Son of Man, even more radiant now, like the midday sun, eyes blazing, justice and mercy combined.
That intensified imagery underscores his supreme authority as judge. And describing him as both justice and mercy is key. It's not just punishment, it's also about restoration for the righteous.
And before him, this huge crowd gathers, kings in purple, warriors with swords, but also the humble righteous in white. Enoch's feeling awe, maybe fear too.
It shows the judgment is universal. Nobody is exempt. And the contrast in clothing immediately flips earthly status on its head. Worldly power means nothing here. Humility and righteousness are what matter.
Then the Son of Man raises his hand, a dramatic moment. The heavens literally tear open. A throne descends made of fire and clouds, angels singing about God's righteousness.
That tearing of the heavens signals direct divine intervention, undeniable, the throne of fire and clouds. That emphasizes the purity, the holiness, the absolute authority behind this judgment. The angels confirm its righteousness.
And the angel points out the kings and the mighty. They're on shaky thrones now. Their pride literally makes the ground tremble, thrones crumble, crowns fall off.
It's a vivid metaphor, isn't it? The ultimate emptiness of earthly power when faced with divine judgment. Their pride is their downfall. The falling crowns show the complete loss of their worldly control.
And they plead for mercy, don't they? Based on their earthly achievements, cities built, wars won.
Yes, but it rings completely hollow in this context.
Why? What does that contrast show?
It highlights the futility of accomplishments built on injustice or pride, things that ignore God's will. True value in this picture is righteousness, faithfulness, not worldly power.
Then the Son of Man delivers the judgment, thunderous, condemning those who oppress people who were full of pride and greed. Off to darkness they go.
It's direct, unequivocal, targeting those core sins, oppression, pride, greed, which are shown as directly opposing God. Darkness means total separation from God's light and life, the ultimate consequence.
Enoch sees this righteous wrath, sees the wicked seized by fiery chains, cast into an eternal abyss. And we learn this includes the Watchers and the Nephilim too. It's a total cleanup.
Yes, that inclusion is important. It shows God's justice is thorough, all-encompassing. It reaches beyond human evil to the spiritual forces of rebellion too. Judging them means restoring cosmic order, getting rid of all defiance.
But then, thankfully, the mood shifts. A warm glow, hope. The righteous who suffered are now standing radiant before the Son of Man. Joy on their faces.
That stark contrast is crucial. It highlights the ultimate triumph of righteousness, the vindication of the faithful. Their suffering wasn't pointless. It leads to eternal joy and reward in his presence. It shows God intends to bring justice and bless the loyal.
And the Son of Man speaks gently, but with authority, acknowledging them, welcoming them. Come and receive my rest. Your place is in my light.
Such comforting words. Validation, fulfillment of promises. Rest here means eternal peace, security, unbroken communion with God, the ultimate reward.
And the heavens open again. This incredible city descends crystal and gold, angels singing. The righteous walk in, their tears turning into hymns, a new reality dawning.
That city symbolizes God's eternal kingdom. Perfect beauty, joy, divine presence, tears becoming hymns. That's the complete reversal of suffering, the start of everlasting praise.
The angel touches Enoch's shoulder then and sums it up. This is the parable of the judgment. His righteousness will cleanse the earth.
Right, that's the core message. Judgment isn't the end goal. The goal is establishing righteousness as the principle of the new creation. Cleansing the earth means removing all sin, all rebellion, making way for a perfect world.
Finally, Enoch's back on earth, writing it all down. Judgment, mercy, the fall of the proud, the glory of the righteous. His words become a beacon.
And that act of recording is vital. It ensures these lessons, the warning and the hope, are preserved. His writings encourage people to hold on to righteousness while waiting for the Son of Man.
Which brings us to the final vision, the new order. After seeing the judgment, Enoch is lifted into light again, sensing more revelation.
It shows judgment wasn't the final word. It was a necessary step towards the ultimate goal, establishing God's eternal righteous kingdom. The focus now shifts to the positive outcome.
And the angel reappears, singing this time, a song of triumph.
Yes, proclaiming the parable of the new order where righteousness reigns forever. It sets a tone of ultimate victory, peace, fulfillment.
And what Enoch sees now is that city of light again, but maybe even more vivid. Crystal, sapphire, pearl gates. The righteous walk on golden streets, completely joyful in the presence of the Son of Man. It sounds like perfection.
The detail emphasizes its perfection, its glory, its permanence. And having the Son of Man at the heart of it shows he's the source of life and joy. It's a picture of perfect communion with God in unparalleled beauty.
And the angel hammers home that point about the Son of Man again. He is the Son of Man who was before creation, whose light pierces eternity.
That repetition is critical. It cements his divine identity, his central role in everything, existing before time and beyond it.
Then the Son of Man himself speaks, describes his kingdom. No more tears, no pain, just peace. Enoch sees creation's old wounds healing in his light. Complete restoration.
That promise of peace is profound. And the healing of creation signifies the undoing of all sin, all rebellion, all brokenness. It's about perfect harmony finally being restored.
But even here, there's that reminder of judgment. A plain of fire for the wicked, those who rejected the Son of Man, the Watchers, the proud kings. They tremble in darkness consumed.
It shows that justice remains fundamental, even in the new order. Rejecting the Son of Man leads to eternal separation from his light. The consequences are real and lasting.
The angel explains their fate, contrasting it with the righteous who will shine like stars forever.
A powerful image. It really underscores the eternal weight of the choices people make. Faithfulness leads to glorious life. Rejection leads to darkness.
And the city of light is shown as this beacon, God's glory shining, its gates always open for the faithful.
Those open gates are symbolic too. God's grace is accessible. His kingdom welcomes all who are faithful. The invitation is always there.
Then, a really personal moment. The Son of Man calls Enoch closer, calls him his witness, tells him again, write these parables, give my people hope until I come.
That direct address from the Son of Man himself really elevates Enoch's role. His writings become this vital link, offering hope and guidance for generations waiting for these prophecies to be fulfilled.
And we end with Enoch, humbled, kneeling, continuing to write, documenting the city of light, the fate of the wicked, the new order, his words becoming this guide through time.
Right. His writing solidifies his legacy. These visions provide this comprehensive view of God's plan, from judgment all the way to the eternal kingdom.
So wrapping up this fourth deep dive, let's circle back to that central question about the Son of Man introduced in the Book of Parables. Could this figure actually be Jesus Christ? Through these incredible visions, Enoch gets these profound insights. His pre-existence, his key role in judgment, his reign in a future righteous order.
Exactly. The Book of Parables paints a really compelling picture of a messianic figure with divine origins, central to God's whole plan for humanity and the cosmos.
What's undeniable is how profound this ancient text is. These enduring themes, judgment, redemption, hope, they resonate.
They absolutely do, across different traditions. And they give us invaluable context for understanding how messianic ideas developed back then. It helps frame later religious thought.
So as you continue thinking about this, maybe consider the significance of a figure like the Son of Man showing up in text before the New Testament. What might that suggest about how these ideas grew and flowed over time? We definitely encourage you to keep exploring Enoch, its connections, its mysteries. It's a truly fascinating journey.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're wrapping up our journey through 1 Enoch with our fifth deep dive focusing on this text as retold by Erik H. Jansen.
That's right. We're looking specifically at the Book of Noah, or the Book of Exhortations.
And it's really quite a conclusion, not just an ending, but this powerful call to righteousness and, well, a pretty amazing vision of hope.
It really is. It builds on everything we've talked about before from 1 Enoch. It feels like the natural conclusion, giving us this glimpse of the future, but also a really personal message from Enoch himself.
Yeah, a message to his family that honestly still feels relevant.
Absolutely.
So let's set the scene Jansen describes. Enoch's by a river, it's glowing, his family's there around a fire, you can smell herbs. It feels very connected to creation.
Grounded.
But there's also this weight, you know, after everything with the Watchers, and then bang, this ancient oak tree just bursts into light, like this brilliant unburning fire.
Wow, what an image.
And from that, Enoch gets this vision, the prophecy of weeks. It's like a roadmap of God's plan through history.
That initial setting, the glowing river, the ancient oak, it's so symbolic, isn't it? The divine, like, breaking right into the everyday world.
Totally. That blazing oak, it's not just light, it's insight. It really fuels his prophecy.
Exactly.
So, okay, our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack that prophecy of weeks and then the exhortations, the advice that comes after.
Right. We want to get a handle on the key stages Enoch saw God's plan unfolding.
And maybe more importantly, what it asks us to think about, you know, for our lives.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's jump into the apocalypse of weeks. Week 1, Adam.
Right at the beginning, the narrative paints this picture of just perfect harmony in Eden. Adam and Eve totally connected to God.
Jansen uses these sensory details, right?
Yeah.
Dew on the grass, birdsong.
Yeah.
You can almost feel the beauty.
You really can. It makes that initial perfection feel so tangible.
And then, just like that, it shatters. The serpent comes in, plants that seed of doubt, and sin arrives.
It's more than just like a mistake. It's a real break in that connection. And the consequences are immediate pain, separation.
And then violence. Cain and Abel, that first darkness starts to creep in. Heart's hardening already.
It happens so fast, doesn't it? From that beauty to that. You have to wonder how it could be lost so quickly.
Yeah. I guess it comes down to free will, maybe. The power of choice.
I think so. And the consequences. But even then, right from the start, you see hints of God's mercy starting to show through, even in the darkness.
Okay, so that leads us into the second week, the big one, the flood.
Yeah, and it's presented not just as like a massive storm, but as divine judgment, specifically against the corruption linked to the Nephilim.
Those offspring of the Watchers and humans we talked about before, their wickedness had just gone too far.
Exactly, the scale of it.
Yeah.
The roaring waves, the earth becoming this watery grave. It's genuinely terrifying imagery.
It really is. It's a stark warning about corruption spiraling out of control.
But it's also about preservation, isn't it? Noah's Ark, it's not just a boat. It's this symbol of hope in the middle of total destruction.
And Noah himself, his faithfulness, like a single light, as Jansen puts it.
A flame in the darkness, yeah. And his obedience is key. He listens to God's specific instructions and follows them.
And then after the flood, the rainbow appears. That symbol of God's promise, his covenant love.
A promise never to destroy everything by flood again. It shows that even after severe judgment, God's love is still there.
And the text makes a point of how Noah knew what to do.
Right. God spoke, and Noah listened. That active listening of being receptive to the divine voice, that's a recurring theme, isn't it?
Definitely seems to be. Okay, so weeks 3 and 4 move pretty fast. We get Abraham, the promise of a nation.
That vision of stars, his incredible faith, even with Isaac.
Then Moses, the Exodus, the law on Sinai. Big moments. But then, almost in the same breath, the narrative shifts.
Yeah, it shifts to Israel's failures, their unfaithfulness, false idols, wandering hearts.
It highlights that pattern again, doesn't it? God acts, provides a path, and then human weakness, human fallibility kicks in.
Exactly. The law was meant to be this guide, but their commitment just flickers. You can almost feel the disappointment. It makes you think about our own tendencies, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Which leads into the 5th week, the temple.
Initially, it's this glorious house for God, a center for worship.
But it doesn't stay pure, does it? It gets corrupted too. Tainted offerings, markets, selling idols right there. Prayers without real meaning.
Yeah, it's a really sobering picture. Even the holiest place can be defiled by human sin. It shows that just going through the motions, the outward stuff, isn't enough.
It's about the heart, right? Genuine seeking.
Exactly. Are our own acts of worship always truly sincere? It's a tough question.
And then the 6th week, this is really tough. The fall of Jerusalem, the exile.
The language Jansen uses here is so raw. Shattered walls, people weeping, bleeding feet. You really feel the pain and suffering.
It's presented as the direct result of that long-term unfaithfulness.
Yeah, a really low point. It shows that turning away from God has real, tangible consequences, not just spiritually, but physically, collectively.
But just when it seems hopeless, the 7th week offers a glimmer. A righteous remnant emerges.
Ah, yes. A small group who stay faithful even when everything's falling apart. It's a crucial turning point.
That idea of the remnant is so important, isn't it?
Absolutely. It suggests that even in the darkest times, there will always be some who hold on to God's principles. They become the seed for renewal. Makes you wonder who they are today.
Okay, so this remnant leads us into the final 3 weeks, the big eschatological vision, the end times.
Right. And the 8th week hits fast and hard. Righteousness triumphs. The wicked are judged.
By a sword of light, it says.
Yeah.
Evil is just, destroyed, kings fall, the Nephilim vanish in fire, a total cleansing.
The imagery is about complete final judgment. That sword of light exposes and just eradicates wickedness. And the Nephilim finally being dealt with echoes the flood, showing the ultimate defeat of those who defied God's order.
Then the 9th week, God's kingdom is established. Shadows break, darkness recedes, and his people are gathered together.
It's like the dawn of a new age. God's rule fully realized, the faithful finally reunited, the end of all that spiritual confusion.
And finally, the 10th week,
Ah,
the climax. A new pure heaven descends, the earth is transformed.
the resurrection of the righteous. They appear in these radiant, glorified bodies, and the final judgment for any remaining sinners.
The contrast is so stark. Absolute resolution.
It really brings a sense of closure, doesn't it? Ultimate justice. The new heaven and earth mean total renewal, no more sin, no more suffering. And resurrection means eternal life with God.
Wow. Okay, so that's the huge sweep of the apocalypse of weeks. After laying all that out, the narrative shifts.
Yeah, Enoch starts speaking directly to his descendants. He's under the night sky, and you can feel the urgency.
He's warning them, right? Judgment is near because sin, rooted in that Watcher rebellion, is still spreading.
Exactly. That setting, under the stars, gives his words this solemn weight. He's drawing on the vision he just had to warn and guide them, and connecting it back to the Watchers keeps that original sin, that disobedience, front and center.
He describes this vision he had of the wicked, how they get rich through oppression, stolen gold, slave markets, worshiping idols, twisting justice.
Awful stuff.
Yeah, and he contrasts their, temporary dirty joy with God's certain judgment. He uses the Watchers and Nephilim as the ultimate warning example.
It really exposes how empty that kind of power and wealth is when it's built on injustice, their temporary gain versus eternal consequences. It's meant to push you towards righteousness.
And it raises that classic question, doesn't it? Why do the wicked seem to prosper sometimes?
Enoch tackles that head on. He talks about God's incredible patience, giving people chances to repent.
But it's not endless patience.
No, he makes it clear justice will come. It's that balance between God's mercy and his righteousness. Patience isn't indifference.
But it's not all doom and gloom. He also shares this beautiful vision of mercy for those who do repent.
Yes. Tears wiped away, broken hearts healed, sins totally cleansed. It's a message of incredible hope.
And the future for the righteous. Shining like lights, suffering turned to joy, eternal peace. It sounds amazing.
It's the powerful counterstory. Repentance is the key. It unlocks forgiveness. And this future filled with light and peace, totally opposite to the darkness awaiting the unrepentant.
He even describes the city of glory waiting for them. Open gates, songs, eternal gardens, singing rivers, kids playing without fear.
It's such a rich sensory picture of the ultimate reward, that perfect peace, that shalom in God's presence, no fear, just joy and beauty.
And then he brings it right back to that. And by extension to us, choose righteousness. Let your actions shine, stay pure.
He specifically warns them not to get pulled into darkness, reminding them of what happened with the Watchers. That mingling had disastrous results.
So it becomes very personal. It's not just history or prophecy. It's a call to action for anyone listening. Learn from the past. Choose the right path now.
Consciously choose it, yeah. Resist those corrupting influences.
Then the focus zooms in specifically on Noah. His quiet strength, his special calling for that great task.
Building the ark, right. In a world just drowning in sin, it's this image of Noah building through faith, guided by God.
I love that detail about his father, Lamech, being worried because Noah was different. And Enoch reassures him, says Noah has this divine purpose.
It makes Noah very relatable, but also highlights his unique role. He becomes this concrete example of obedience and faith against all odds. A beacon of hope, like you said.
Exactly. A beacon for us to remember.
Definitely.
And finally, Enoch makes sure all of this gets written down. For the future.
Yeah, that active writing is crucial. It preserves the message, ensures it endures as this source of light and guidance until the very end.
Okay, then we get one last, absolutely breathtaking vision. The new heaven. Enoch's on a high rock under the stars again. It feels like the ultimate climax is coming.
That setting again, emphasizing the cosmic scale of what's about to be revealed, God's plan for total renewal.
And the vision. Wow. The new heaven comes down. It's radiant like crystal.
Yeah.
The light is somehow purer.
And the earth is transformed. Emerald fields, rivers of life, singing forests, animals at peace, rainbows that never fade. It's paradise regained, but even better.
It deliberately echoes Eden, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But elevated, perfect harmony, incredible beauty, all aligned with God's will.
Totally. You can almost hear the singing rivers, feel that peace.
Then the righteous are there, before God's throne. They're radiant, singing, resurrected, reunited with loved ones. Suffering is just over in the light of the Son of Man.
It's the ultimate picture of hope and restoration, triumph over death, perfect fellowship with God and each other, and the Son of Man is central to it all.
But then the contrast. The wicked, they're in a plain of fire, bound in darkness. All their earthly glories are gone, destroyed.
And an angel declares their fate is deserved. It's that stark reminder of God's justice. The two destinies are laid out so clearly.
It really underscores the consequences of the choices made. Earthly power means nothing in the end if it wasn't aligned with God.
Exactly.
And then the final scene. The righteous entering the New Jerusalem. Sapphire walls, open gates, eternal spring, those singing rivers again, endless feasts, constant songs of praise, and deep, profound rest.
It's just an overwhelming image of perfect joy and peace in God's presence. Everything speaks of abundance and communion, the ultimate fulfillment.
So the book of Noah ends with Enoch telling his family, basically, write this down. preserve these words. We see Methuselah writing, Noah watching intently.
Passing the torch, ensuring this incredible vision, this vital message endures for all future generations. It emphasizes the legacy.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, our fifth on 1 Enoch, focusing on Jansen's retelling of the Book of Noah editions. What stands out?
Well, you definitely see that cycle of sin and judgment playing out again and again through history.
Yeah, but alongside it, always, is God's mercy, his faithfulness. That promise endures.
Absolutely, and the call to choose righteousness ourselves feels incredibly strong and direct.
And that final hope, that vision of a completely renewed creation. It's just so powerful and, well, inspiring.
It really brings our exploration of 1 Enoch, for now, to a very hopeful conclusion. Justice, mercy, and the ultimate triumph of good.
So, as you listening or thinking about all this, maybe consider, what part of Enoch's vision of the future really hits home for you?
Yeah, and how does that idea of a righteous remnant maybe speak to the challenges we see around us today?
Right, and could this deep dive inspire any sort of personal exhortations or changes in your own life?
Good questions to reflect on. How do we live out these ancient insights now? How do we try to be part of that remnant, holding on to hope, choosing righteousness?
We really hope you'll join us again for future deep dives as we continue to unpack these fascinating sources. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're continuing our journey through Erik H. Jansen's retelling of the Book of Enoch.
That's right.
This is our 6th deep dive out of 8 planned.
Getting deep into it now.
Definitely. And today we're tackling 2 Enoch, the Book of Secrets. If you've been with us, you know we're uncovering some really fascinating stuff.
We really are. And with 2 Enoch, the focus shifts a bit. We're looking hard at, well, 2 big things.
Okay.
First, this intense theme of holy living. How do you stay righteous when the world around you isn't?
A timeless question, really.
Absolutely. And second, it's cosmology, this really specific 10-heaven structure. It's quite unique.
Yeah, that 10-heaven model is interesting. It's not just, a random number.
No, not at all.
It seems to have connections, possibly to Hellenistic ideas about the cosmos, right?
That's the thinking, yeah. It might have influenced later Jewish mysticism and maybe even early Christian views.
Like Paul mentioning being caught up to the third heaven, people connect that.
Exactly. It shows how these ideas weren't in isolation. They sort of flowed and mingled in the ancient world.
And our guide through this is Erik H. Jansen's retelling, 2 Enoch, the Book of Secrets.
He does a great job making this ancient text accessible, letting us really get into these themes of righteousness and this layered cosmos.
Okay, so let's jump into the story itself, the vision into Enoch.
Yeah.
It starts very personally, doesn't it? How's the scene set?
Yeah, it's very evocative. We find Enoch, he's 365 years old.
Symbolic age.
Very. He's in his house, it's night, just an oil lamp burning, quiet, contemplative.
Almost like he's waiting for something. Even though he's had visions before, there's this sense of restlessness.
Exactly that, a restlessness. He feels this pull, like there's something more, something beyond the earth he knows, a call.
And then that quiet is shattered.
Completely. Suddenly the room just fills with this intense light, brighter than anything earthly, almost alive.
And out of this light,
2 figures appear, angels, majestic ones.
the description is amazing, tall, like pillars of dewdrops in moonlight.
Beautiful imagery, silver garments, eyes full of wisdom. You get this immediate sense of their divine nature.
And they have a message for him.
Direct and clear. Enoch, servant of the Holy One, the Almighty calls you to behold his hidden kingdoms. Arise and follow us. A divine summons, no ambiguity there.
Wow. How does Enoch react? I mean, that would be overwhelming.
Totally. His first reaction is humility. Like, why me? I'm just a mortal man. Maybe a little fear too.
Understandable.
But his faith takes over. He trusts them, these messengers, and he agrees to go. He begins to ascend with them.
And the ascent itself, how's that described? It's not like climbing stairs, I imagine.
No, more like floating. Weightless. Like a feather on a breeze, just rising up. The earth just shrinks away below.
Must have been surreal.
Absolutely. And the angel's wings are described as luminous, carrying him through space, past the stars. It conveys this immense scale, a wonder that's hard to put into words,
Yeah. But even then, his thoughts go back to his family. Methuselah, Noah.
That's right. It keeps him grounded, in a way. He's not just a visionary, he's a father, a patriarch. What he learns impacts his lineage.
Okay, so he's rising, first stop, the first heaven, What's that like?
The first heaven is this vast, sort of breathing plain, clouds of light drifting around. It feels elemental.
Elemental.
Yeah, like the source of nature's forces. There are these crystal chambers, rain and snow, like divine storage units, basically, guarded by angels with these striking emerald eyes.
Protecting the essentials for life on Earth.
Seems like it. It suggests divine control, provision.
Here's a sound.
Yeah, soft music like rustling leaves. An angel explains it's the breath of creation. This is where storms start, where dewdrops are made, where winds are sent out.
So it's peaceful, but also active, the source of weather. And he sees a loom.
Right, a loom of light. Angels are literally weaving the seasons there.
Weaving the seasons, that's incredible.
It really pictures the order behind it all, and then a guardian shows him this vessel full of dewdrops, each one named, each with a purpose.
Every single dewdrop, the level of detail in creation. Wow.
It's mind-blowing. And this connects to the covenant, the rainbow after the flood, hope, which makes Enoch think of Noah naturally.
Okay, from that realm of creation's breath, he goes up to the second heaven. And the mood changes drastically.
Oh, completely. The second heaven is heavy, full of sorrow, a stark contrast.
Why the sorrow?
He sees them, the fallen watchers, the ones who rebelled, who wounded the earth, as the text says.
The ones from the earlier Enoch narratives.
Exactly. They're in chains of shadow, wings broken, faces full of regret. It's a powerful image of the consequences of rebellion.
And the angel confirms this.
Yep. It says, "These are they who wounded the earth. Their rebellion brought chaos, and now they await God's judgment." Pretty clear cut.
Seeing them must have hit Enoch hard, connecting their celestial fall to the Nephilim and the chaos on Earth.
No doubt. He knew the stories, the impact, seeing the source. Well, it stirs pity in him. He actually prays for mercy for them.
Even for the fallen. Shows his character. Are there other angels there?
Yes, the Grigori who stayed faithful. They're in a circle, mourning their lost brothers. Their wings are described as dimmed by sorrow.
So even the faithful feel the pain of that division.
Deeply. One of them speaks to Enoch, saying something like, "We're loyal to God, but we grieve for our brothers." It shows the complexity, the pain even in the heavens.
And Enoch connects with them.
He does. He shows empathy. And as he does, this soft light comes from his fingers, a sign of God's mercy flowing through him.
Wow.
And he offers them comfort, encouragement, showing his growing role, his understanding.
All right, moving up again, the third heaven. This one sounds complex, paradise and punishment.
Exactly. It's a realm of duality, light and shadow coexisting. On one side, paradise, beautiful garden, ruby and sapphire trees, streams of honey and light.
Sounds lovely.
And the righteous are there. Patriarch's Enoch actually recognizes, the angel calls it, the rest of the blessed.
Reward for a good life.
Pretty much. But right next to it, a dark abyss.
The flip side.
Yeah. Sinners in chains, groaning, waiting for judgment. The contrast is stark. Paradise and this place of torment, side by side, really drives home the consequences of choices.
And Enoch learns something important about God's plan here.
He sees the scales of God's plan, mercy and justice, held in balance. It's not arbitrary, it's measured.
Which must make him feel even more responsible to warn people.
Definitely. He needs to tell his children, his descendants, about the importance of choosing right.
And he has a personal encounter here too, doesn't he?
A very significant one. He meets his own father, Jared.
In paradise.
Yes. And Jared encourages him warmly. Says something like, "Your heart is faithful, my son. Your words will carry the world."
Wow. That must have been incredibly powerful for Enoch. Affirmation from his father in heaven itself.
Absolutely. It strengthens his resolve, validates his mission. He vows right then to preserve Jared's words, knowing their importance.
Okay, onwards and upwards. The fourth heaven. This sounds more cosmic. Celestial bodies.
It is. It's described as this amazing spectacle of fire and rhythm. He sees the sun as a golden chariot, the moon like a silver disk, and the stars are singing, moving in these eternal orbits. A cosmic dance.
This beautiful chaos. Or is there order?
Oh, definite order. Angels of the seasons are guiding the flow of day and night, the celestial movements. The guiding angel tells him, "Behold, the clock of creation."
The clock of creation. So it's all part of a divine mechanism.
Exactly. Meticulously designed. Imagine seeing that, especially for Enoch, who we know studied the stars from Earth.
Yeah, it would put everything in perspective. The order of the heavens versus the messiness of sin on Earth.
A powerful contrast for sure. It reinforces God's power and the harmony possible when you align with his order.
And he receives something here. A map.
A very special one. An angel, wings like molten gold apparently, gives him a scroll made of light. calls it the map of the heavens, written for the righteous to understand God's time.
A map of time and space, written by God.
Seems like it. It shows planetary orbits, cycles, the inner workings, and the angel tells Enoch, write what you see.
Again, emphasizing his role as scribe, as witness.
It's crucial. His testimony is the point.
After seeing this cosmic clockwork, the journey goes higher. Does the feeling change?
It does. Beyond the fourth heaven, the air gets very still. Enoch feels the presence of the Holy One much more intensely. The angels become more reverent as they lead him up this ladder of light. Things are getting serious.
It sounds like it. So, the fifth heaven. We revisit the Watcher's theme.
We do, but from a different angle. This heaven is filled with quiet mourning, like a heavy mist. He sees the Grigori again.
The faithful ones.
Yes, but here their faces are shadowed, wings dull, still lamenting their fallen brothers, bearing that sorrow.
So even the faithful carry the weight of others' sin.
It seems so. The angel explains, these are the watchers who remain faithful, yet they bear the sorrow of their kin. Shows how interconnected they are, how sin ripples outwards.
And Enoch offers comfort again.
He does. His empathy just keeps growing.
And he gets another vision related to their fall.
Yeah, one of the Grigori shows him a vision. Earth ravaged by the Nephilim. The real, brutal consequences.
A reminder of the stakes.
Definitely. And the message is, behold the wounds. Through faithfulness, Enoch, your words will show the way. His mission is reinforced again.
Okay, the sixth heaven. This sounds more positive. Harmony and order.
Much more positive. It's like a sanctuary of divine order. Angels with rainbow wings are weaving the fabric of the world, guiding nature.
Weaving the world.
Yeah.
And there are scrolls.
Floating scrolls of light, yeah. Inscribed with the mysteries of creation, shows the depth of God's knowledge. And he sees vessels, like containers, filled with prayers rising up.
Prayers from earth.
Yeah, glowing like torches. A direct line, showing prayer actually reaches heaven has an effect.
That's a comforting image. God's plan in action.
Totally. The angel says, behold the garden of God's plan. Every flower and mountain sings of his care. Everything has purpose, is cared for.
And he sees something specific about his own family.
Yes, a vessel of prayers just for his descendants. Methuselah, Noah included. And the angel reassures him about their future faithfulness. Gives him hope.
Moving higher still. The seventh heaven. This sounds like the big leagues.
You can say that. It's radiant glory. The air trembles with divine power. This is the heavenly council.
Archangels. The throne.
Archangels surrounding a throne of pure light, wings pulsing with fire, myriads of beings singing praises. The angel says, this is the court of God's servants. It's the center of heavenly governance.
Intense. And he meets another major figure here.
He does, the Archangel Gabriel.
What does Gabriel say?
Gabriel acknowledges Enoch's visions are important, a beacon, but then he asks a tough question. But the world will stray. How will you guide it? Puts the pressure back on Enoch.
How does Enoch handle that? Does he feel up to it?
He actually expresses doubt, understandable humility, right? How can he guide a straying world?
Yeah.
But Gabriel reassures him, tells him, your faithfulness is enough, right? And the Holy One will speak. His job is to be the faithful witness, the scribe. God will do the rest.
That's powerful. Faithfulness is the key. Okay, eighth heaven, Muzaloth. What's the focus here?
Time and seasons. It's described as a dome of stars where the seasons actually begin.
The source point.
Yeah. The 12 constellations are there, like guardians of time and nature, and angels are weaving the seasons, another layer of that cosmic clockwork we saw earlier.
So intricate.
Incredibly. The angel just says, behold Muzaloth. Like, take it in. This is how it works.
And the journey isn't over yet. He goes beyond the stars.
He does. Beyond the starry dome, into the sea of pure light. It's like approaching the very edge of everything. Enoch feels this mix of intense longing and, well, fear. He's nearing the ultimate reality.
Wow. Ninth heaven, Kuchavim, more stars.
A vast canopy of constellations, yeah.
Yeah.
But here they're called guardians of the ages. Angels guide them, whispering about creation's order.
Guardians of the ages. So it's about cosmic history, maybe?
Seems like it. Order across time. And here, an angel shows him a glimpse of the final future.
What does he see?
A new heaven and earth for the righteous and for the wicked. A plain of fire. The final judgment. The ultimate destinies laid bare.
Intense. And finally, the 10th heaven, Aravath, the end of the line.
The summit, the ultimate destination. A sanctuary of light, fire, crystal. This is where the Holy One's throne is.
He sees God.
He beholds the Holy One. Cherubim, seraphim are there. It's the heart of divinity, the culmination of everything.
And what happens to Enoch there?
Archangel Michael lifts him up, clothes him in garments of light, a transformation, and the Holy One speaks directly to him.
What's the message?
Write my truth, Enoch. Let your descendants know my ways, the core command.
And he receives the tools to do it.
Yes. Pravui, an angel of knowledge, gives him books of divine wisdom. He stays in Erevath for 30 days, learning, witnessing creation, understanding God's laws.
30 days in the presence of God.
Yeah.
Incredible. Then he has to come back.
He does. The angels guide him back down to earth.
And what's the first thing he does?
Under the stars, he gathers his children. He shares everything he saw, everything he learned. But the core message is God's holy love.
So it's not just about cosmology or judgment, but love.
That seems to be the foundation. But he also teaches about mercy, warns strongly against unrighteousness. He tells them about the city of light he saw and the abyss. The choice is crucial.
And he makes sure the message lasts.
Absolutely. He commands his son Methuselah to preserve his writings carefully, to make sure this knowledge isn't lost.
And then Enoch's own ending. It's not exactly normal.
Not at all. After 30 days back on Earth, he ascends again, this time for good. He becomes a star.
Literally becomes a scar.
That's how it's described. A light in the heavens. His children watch, weeping but also in awe. And his final recorded thought sums it all up.
What is it?
What is eternity if it does not serve God's love?
Wow. A profound end to an incredible journey, and a great place to pause our deep dive into Enoch, the Book of Secrets.
Absolutely. We've covered that unique 10-heaven structure, maybe influenced by Hellenistic ideas, and that central theme of pursuing holiness in a difficult world.
And seeing how it might connect to later Jewish mysticism, even early Christian thought like Paul's third heaven, it really makes you think about how these ideas traveled.
It really does. The interconnectedness is fascinating.
So for you listening, here's something to ponder from this deep dive. How does this idea of a layered heaven, this intricate cosmic structure shown into Enoch, affect how you think about the divine, about our own place in the universe?
Yeah, it definitely gives you a lot to chew on regarding righteousness, judgment, and the hidden, maybe structured order underlying everything.
Plenty to think about. Until our next deep dive, keep exploring those depths. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're continuing our journey through the Book of Enoch, and this is our 7th exploration.
That's right. And today we're really digging into Erik H. Jansen's retelling of 3 Enoch, often called the Book of the Palaces.
It's a fascinating text. We're focusing specifically on Rabbi Ishmael's ascent, his journey upwards.
Exactly. This is a core part of 3 Enoch Ishmael's trip through the heavens, the revelations he gets, and especially his encounter with, well, Metatron.
Yeah, Metatron is central here. So think of this as like a guided tour through an ancient vision of the heavens.
It's packed with incredible imagery, angels, palaces, different levels of reality.
And it touches on some really deep ideas, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About, the cosmos encountering God.
Absolutely. So we'll trace Ishmael's path, look at each heaven he visits, who he meets, and sort of what it all might mean.
Okay, great. So let's set the scene. The story kicks off with Rabbi Ishmael in the temple in Jerusalem. It's nighttime.
Yeah, exactly. Picture the temple, quiet, just the flickering oil lamps. Ishmael is there, deep in prayer. The text paints this picture of him being really devout, seeking connection in a troubled world.
It establishes this real sense of sacred space, doesn't it? A longing for something more.
Definitely. And then things start to happen.
Right. The divine encounter begins. How does it unfold?
Well, first, there's this gentle breeze, but it feels significant. Then, this radiant light just floods the temple.
Wow.
And out of this light comes an angel. The description is really vivid: wings like the dawn, eyes full of wisdom, a voice that's powerful, but also tender.
So clearly not your average Tuesday night prayer session.
Not at all. It's emphasizing how otherworldly this messenger is.
And what's the message? Why is the angel there?
It's a direct call.
Yeah.
The angel tells Ishmael he's been chosen by God to see the divine palaces, the heavens.
That's quite an invitation. How does Ishmael react? He calls himself a child of clay, right?
Yeah. His first reaction is just sheer awe, humility, like, who am I for this, He recognizes he's just human.
Makes sense.
But his faith is strong. So despite maybe some fear or just being overwhelmed, he accepts. He agrees to go with the angel.
Okay, so he accepts the call, and then the journey begins. How does the transition happen from earth to the heavens?
It's described as pretty instantaneous. The temple fades away and suddenly they're ascending. through clouds like pearl, past stars that now look like tiny candle flames.
So the scale just completely shifts.
Dramatically, it really drives home that they're entering a totally different dimension, a realm just saturated with God's presence.
But even with all this happening, Ishmael thinks about his people back on Earth, the exiles.
Yes, which tells you a lot about him. Even in this mind-blowing experience, his heart is still with his community, hoping this journey might somehow bring them hope or comfort.
Okay, so the first heaven, what's it like? The description mentions plains, clouds, dewy wings.
Right, the first heaven is vast. He sees these incredible crystal palaces, and there are gatekeepers, angels with eyes like emeralds who seem to control natural forces.
Natural forces? Like what?
Like the very beginnings of dew, wind, storms. It's presented as if these things originate here as signs of God's constant care for creation.
So it's linking the mundane, like weather, directly to the divine.
Exactly. The angel even says, "Behold the breath of creation." It's making the point that nature isn't random. It's an expression of God's activity.
How does Ishmael react to seeing this?
It makes him think about life on earth, farmers needing rain, fishermen dealing with storms. It deepens his reverence, seeing this interconnectedness.
Okay, moving up. The second heaven sounds different. Fire and shadow.
Yeah, the tone shifts. It's described as a realm balancing light and darkness. There are still radiant palaces, but also angels of justice, described with flaming wings and sharp eyes.
Angels of justice. So this heaven is about judgment.
That seems to be the core idea. He sees thrones of light where deeds are judged and also these treasuries of justice.
Treasuries of justice. What's in them?
Things like the prayers of the righteous being preserved, or even the sighs of the repentant rising up. It suggests a very detailed accounting.
So it's not just about punishment, but also about remembering prayers and repentance.
Right. It's a nuanced picture. The angel sums it up. Here rests God's judgment. It's where divine justice operates.
And this sight makes Ishmael think about God's wrath, but also mercy.
Exactly. Seeing this makes him pray even harder for his people, for Israel, hoping they'll repent and find mercy within that justice.
Onwards to the third heaven. This one sounds more peaceful. Crystalline light. Praise.
Yes, the third heaven is presented as a sanctuary, palaces inscribed with the names of the righteous, a throne for worshiping angels with emerald wings. The key thing is the sound, a constant hymn of praise to God.
An overwhelming sense of holiness, then.
Absolutely, a feeling of God's immediate nearness, and it's here, in this third heaven.
This is where he meets Metatron.
This is it. Suddenly, this figure of intense light appears. Metatron. He's called the Prince of the Presence, the scribe of God's mysteries.
Wow. How is he described?
Luminous, radiant garments, a voice that's both incredibly powerful but also tender. It's clearly a major moment.
And the text connects him to Enoch, the biblical figure who walked with God.
Explicitly, Ishmael gets a vision right then of Enoch's own ascent and how he was transformed into this incredible angelic being, Metatron.
That's a huge theological idea, isn't it? A human becoming such a high-ranking angel.
It really is. It speaks volumes about potential transformation, the closeness possible between the human and the divine. It's like an exaltation of humanity in service to God.
So Metatron appears. And he invites Ishmael to see more.
Yes, he invites him to see the palaces, the very glory of God.
And Ishmael's reaction.
He's filled with this desire to proclaim it, to share this truth he's seeing. It really cements his role as a messenger.
Before they go higher, there's mention of Metatron's wings of glory. What's that about?
It's another description of Metatron's incredible appearance, like an unfading star, with wings like rainbows. As Metatron encourages Ishmael, the heavens open further, described like a sea of fire.
Intense.
Yeah, Ishmael understands he's climbing like a ladder of glory, moving closer and closer to the ultimate presence.
Okay, the fourth heaven, harmony, symphony. What does he see here?
This realm is all about cosmic order. Palaces of ruby and sapphire, like brighter than stars. He sees angels of flame who guide the planets, the stars, the seasons on Earth.
Like cosmic conductors.
Sort of, and there are treasuries of wisdom containing God's decrees, thrones for angels who maintain this order.
And Metatron calls it.
Behold the symphony of the cosmos. It's all about the intricate, harmonious design of creation, all working according to God's plan.
And seeing this makes Ishmael think about past prophets.
Yeah, it connects his own experience to that lineage, those who came before him who also had these profound encounters. It grounds his vision in history.
Fifth heaven, silence and justice. A bit more sobering again.
A different feel, yes. Palaces of silver light. Angels with a quiet, serene strength guarding the place. And crucially, books of light.
books recording deeds, like in the second heaven.
Even more explicitly here, it seems, detailed records, and also vessels carrying prayers up towards God's throne. It emphasizes record-keeping, but also that prayers do ascend.
And Metatron's summary here.
Here the heart is weighed. It's about inner intention, the motivations behind actions being scrutinized.
Which prompts another plea from Ishmael for his people.
Yes. Seeing this divine accounting makes him plead for mercy and reflect on things like temple sacrifices, the earthly ways of seeking atonement, hoping mercy balances the judgment.
Okay, sixth heaven, radiant glory. Sounds like we're getting close.
Definitely ramping up. Palaces made of diamond, a sea of light, just countless angels singing praises, archangels described like suns carrying God's decrees, a throne of fire for angels of wisdom.
So a real concentration of heavenly power and activity.
Absolutely. Metatron calls it the court of God's servants, and he explains more about the angelic hierarchy here, cherubim, seraphim, all the different orders and their roles.
Does he mention Enoch again here?
Yes, Metatron reiterates the story of his own transformation from Enoch, placing it within this context of the highest angelic servants.
And finally, the seventh heaven, the throne of the Merkava.
The ultimate destination. The ascent itself is described as passing through an ocean of pure fire, just unimaginable intensity and holiness.
Metatron has to encourage him.
Yes, preparing him for what he's about to witness.
And what does he witness? What's the throne room like?
It's beyond description, really. Palaces of pure fire, gates guarded by rainbow-winged cherubim, and at the center, the Merkava, the divine chariot throne. It's depicted as a living flame, surrounded by praising seraphim.
And above the Merkava.
The throne of the Holy One himself, glowing like molten gold.
How does Ishmael even handle that?
He's completely overcome, falls to his knees. It's terror, awe, joy, reverence, everything at once. Just pure, unmediated presence.
And Metatron makes a definitive statement here.
He declares, this is the throne of the Almighty. No ambiguity. And he restates his own position as guardian of these mysteries. Again, referencing his origin as Enoch. Now, beside the Merkava, with his 72 names of power, he says, I am the voice of God's will.
So Metatron is like the prime minister of heaven, almost. The chief servant and revealer.
That's a good way to put it. He then reveals even deeper secrets to Ishmael. The secrets of the Merkava itself, the angelic order, and even grants him a vision of the entire act of creation.
A vision of creation itself. Wow.
From the very beginning. And after all this, Metatron gives Ishmael his mission. Proclaim this truth.
But Ishmael stays there for a while. 30 days.
Yes, for a period of intense instruction directly from Metatron in the seventh heaven.
What kind of things does he learn?
Details about all the palaces in the heavens, the real nature of sin, how it separates us from God, the rewards for the righteous, and the absolute justice of God's judgments.
Does he learn about the future too?
He does. Metatron shows him visions of the day of judgment, the New Jerusalem, this amazing city of light for the righteous, but also the plain of fire for the wicked.
So reinforcing the consequences, both promise and judgment.
Exactly. Metatron frames it as God's promise and his judgment.
How does Ishmael take all this, especially the judgment part?
The text says he feels pity, compassion, but still holds on to hope in God's ultimate mercy.
And then finally it's time to go back.
Yes, the angels command him to return to earth and share what he's seen, proclaim God's glory.
What's the core message he brings back?
He tells his people about the reality of the heavens, the majesty of God's throne, the role of Metatron. Fundamentally, it's a call to righteousness, to live according to God's way, inspired by the incredible reality he witnessed.
So just to wrap up this incredible journey, Ishmael ascends through 7 distinct heavens, each revealing more about divine reality, justice, order, and praise.
Right, culminating in this overwhelming vision of God's throne and his encounter with Metatron, who himself embodies this amazing link between humanity and the angelic realm through Enoch.
Metatron reveals cosmic secrets, the nature of judgment, the future. It's an immense download of divine knowledge.
It truly is. And this whole narrative, this deep dive into 3 Enoch, gives us such a unique window into ancient Jewish mysticism, their conception of the heavens, the profound potential they saw in the human encounter with the sacred.
And for you listening, is a chance to engage with these ancient ideas. The imagery alone is stunning, but it also prompts reflection on, well, faith, justice, the afterlife.
Yeah, and maybe consider what this detailed hierarchical vision of the cosmos revealed through such a profound encounter tells us about that deep human desire to connect with and understand something beyond our everyday world. Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is it, our 8th and final exploration into the really expansive world of Enoch.
That's right. We've covered a lot of ground with 1, 2, and 3 Enoch over the past few sessions. Ancient texts, incredible stuff.
Absolutely. But now, for this last part of our journey, we're diving into something pretty unique. It's Erik H. Jansen's 4 Enoch, the Book of the End of Days.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, 1, 2, and 3 Enoch are genuinely ancient. Jansen, though, he's creatively added this 4th part.
And he brings the whole narrative right into the 21st century. It's quite a move.
It really is. He takes all those foundational ideas from the originals, good versus evil, divine judgment, what it means to be human, and asks, well, how does that play out now in a world like ours, grappling with technology?
Okay, so let's set the scene Jansen paints. We're in Vancouver, year 2030. It sounds futuristic, sure, but there's this coldness to it.
Yeah, kind of sterility. And it's dominated by this huge corporation, Nextara, run by a guy called Lucien Varn. Seems pretty powerful.
And our protagonist is Emma Carter. She's a security systems tester, and she feels, well, pretty alienated by this tech-heavy world, especially Nextara's big promise, these chips for longer life, escaping mortality.
Mm-hmm. And what I found interesting right away is how Jansen grounds her. Amidst all the future tech, her apartment is described as this warm sanctuary.
Right, full of memories. Framed photos of her brother Michael, their grandmother, a worn quilt. Little details like that.
It creates this immediate contrast, doesn't it? Between the cold, tech-driven city outside and her personal, warm space. Suggests she values connection, history.
I think it definitely marks her as someone not fully buying into the Nextara hype. And it's not just a vague feeling either. Her job involves finding the cracks in Nextara systems.
So she sees the flaws firsthand.
Exactly. And even more personally, there's her brother, Michael. He took a Nextara chip a couple of years back.
And she's seen a change in him.
A big one. She describes this like hollowness in his words. His faith, which was important to them, seems to be fading. It's deeply unsettling for her.
That's a really key point. It immediately raises the question of the cost of this technology. Is it just about living longer, or does it change who we are, affect our spirit?
Then Jansen throws in this incredibly potent image of blood-red moon hanging over the city.
Ooh, ominous.
Very. And for Emma, it instantly triggers memories of her grandmother's warnings, end times prophecies, divine judgment. It's like ancient fear crashing into her modern reality.
That's a powerful connection. The old prophecies, the new anxieties, all meeting under that red moon. And it doesn't stay symbolic for long, does it?
Not at all. Almost immediately, Nextara agents show up at her door. And the description of them, it's chilling. Fusions of flesh and technology.
So the very thing Nextara promotes is now coming for her, because her work exposed their system's weaknesses.
Precisely. She's a threat. We get this drone hovering outside her window, constant surveillance turning into active pursuit. It's terrifying.
And she tries to escape.
Yeah, a desperate run through the city's streets, ending up cornered in an alley by these augmented agents. Glowing red eyes, mechanical limbs, pure nightmare fuel.
It really paints a picture of overwhelming, technologically enhanced power against one person.
But just when it seems hopeless, bam, this brilliant light appears, and out of it steps this radiant figure.
Metatron.
Once Enoch himself, according to the tradition. Jansen describes him as just overwhelming. Glowing form, immense wings, a voice of both strength and grace.
Quite the entrance. And he has a message for Emma.
A huge one. He tells her she's been chosen by the Almighty to bear his revelation because the time of judgment is near.
Wow. How does she react to that?
Exactly how you'd expect, really. Total disbelief. Why her? She sees herself as, just an ordinary person, an insignificant soul, especially since she feels she failed to help her own brother.
That's so relatable. Even in this extraordinary situation, that human feeling of inadequacy comes through.
But Metatron reassures her. He says the Holy One doesn't choose based on worldly status, but on the flame of faith in her heart. She's meant to be a beacon in the darkness.
A beacon.
Yeah.
But still, that's an immense weight to put on someone, especially someone already feeling scared and kind of powerless.
Totally. She's terrified, reluctant, thinks about Michael, feels completely inadequate for this divine calling.
It sets up a powerful internal conflict for her. This cosmic destiny versus her very human fears and doubts.
And then things get even more cosmic. Metatron takes her upwards, ascending through this incredible celestial realm. Jansen describes singing stars, swirling fire, crystal clouds. Just breathtaking.
Wow. A stark contrast to the alleyway confrontation.
Absolutely. But from this amazing vantage point, they look down at Earth, and the view is horrific. The planet seems to be in pain, skies blood red, oceans turbulent. sin and suffering are visible.
So there's a shift in perspective from her personal struggle to the bigger cosmic picture of humanity's state.
Exactly. And Metatron expresses this deep sorrow for how the world has turned away from its creator. He says something really crucial here.
What's that?
He says the shadows of the Watchers have returned. The fallen angels from the original Enoch story.
Right, the ones who corrupted humanity before the flood.
Yes. Metatron says their corrupting influence is back, but this time it's woven into modern technology.
Ah, so the ancient evil finds a new vessel. That directly links the old myths to this futuristic setting. That's clever.
It really is. And then the perspective snaps back to Vancouver. Chaos in the streets, panicked people, those malevolent, augmented agents everywhere.
And Emma sees her brother again.
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking. Michael's there, but his eyes are empty, completely controlled by the Nexara chip, just gone.
No, it's brutal. It makes the threat so personal for her again. It's not abstract evil, it's her brother.
Metatron confirms it. This is the work of the Watchers, he says. Their spirits, which caused corruption way back when, are now inhabiting these machines, tempting humanity towards godlessness.
So the technology itself becomes the medium for this ancient spiritual corruption.
Precisely. Then they see a vision of Lucian Varn, the Nexara boss. He's in a stadium, projected on global screens, talking about freedom, eternal life, through Nexara tech.
Selling the lie.
Selling the lie. And the crowd, all chipped, are cheering wildly. Metatron points him out. The deceiver. The Antichrist.
Varn is the Antichrist figure, using technology as his tool of deception. It fits the modernized theme perfectly.
Faced with all this Varn's power, Michael's state, the sheer scale of the deception, Emma just despairs. She asks Metatron, what can I possibly do? I'm just one person.
It's the ultimate underdog question, isn't it? How can one person stand against such power?
But Metatron's answer is incredible. He tells her that one woman, anointed by the Holy One, is stronger than armies. Her faith, he says, will be a beacon.
That's powerful, shifting the source of strength from worldly power to inner faith.
Then comes another vision. Emma praying in this run-down, dilapidated church. And as she prays for justice, light just breaks forth.
What happens in the light?
It silences the machines. The Nexara chips literally crumble. People wake up, hope reborn in their eyes. And standing aside Emma, free, is Michael.
Wow. A glimpse of potential victory. Redemption. But the threat isn't gone, right? Varn's agents are still there. Still there. But the vision offers hope. Metatron then declares that the Son of Man is approaching, and his light will be Emma's shield, his truth her sword.
Where do they go next?
They descend. Back towards Vancouver, but to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts. Place sounds awful, decay, rot, the smell of ozone, and it's filled with these pulsating inhuman machines.
Sound like the heart of the operation.
Metatron calls it a temple and gateway to darkness. He says this is where the darkness gathers its forces.
A physical stronghold for the enemy.
Exactly. But then another vision pierces through the gloom. This time it's the throne of light, angels praising God. And at the center, the Son of Man.
The ultimate authority.
And he declares that the earth will be cleansed, the deceiver will fall, his kingdom will rise.
That must have been overwhelming for Emma.
Immense. The vision continues a liberated Vancouver, bathed in divine light. Michael, truly healed, faith restored, distant fires purifying the land. The Watchers and their machines cast out.
And Emma's reaction.
She whispers, almost to herself, wondering if she can possibly bear witness to all this. That feeling of inadequacy resurfaces.
Understandable, but what's the response?
The Son of Man himself speaks to her, simply says, "You are enough for me."
Wow.
And then the command, "Go and prepare my way." Metatron gives her this reassuring touch, urges her that time is short. But you can tell she's still grappling with it all, thinking of Michael, the world she has to face. That doubt lingers.
So that vision fades, and we're back to the immediate danger.
Right. The final part, the throne of the coming king. Emma finds herself back in her apartment. The city is still trembling. That blood-red sky is still there. Drones are circling. And she hears footsteps approaching her door again. Reinforced ones.
The threat hasn't gone away at all.
Far from it. And then she gets a message on her phone. Michael. He's being held captive at Nexara headquarters.
Oh no! So the stakes just got intensely personal again.
Absolutely. This forces her hand. It's this huge internal conflict, her fear, her feeling of inadequacy versus this urgent, desperate need to save her brother.
And the need to save him wins out.
It seems to. She realizes her fear doesn't matter as much as his danger. She prays, clutching her grandmother's cross. It's a real turning point. She acknowledges her earlier doubts, asks for Metatron's help for Michael, for the world, for the truth she'd hesitated to accept.
And does she get an answer?
Metatron's presence gently reassures her. The Holy One hears her. His strength is with her.
Okay, so she goes down into the city.
Yes, down into the chaos. Drones are crashing now. Buildings are trembling. The whole structure seems to be failing. She sprints towards the massive Nixara tower.
Does she encounter resistance?
Oh, yeah. She confronts an augmented agent, gets injured in the fight. More agents close in. It looks bad.
But Metatron.
Metatron intervenes again. His light just scorches the agents away. He tells Emma, "Arise, go to Michael."
So she makes it to the tower.
She does. Shatters the glass doors, a real act of defiance. She navigates this cold, sterile interior following the faint sound of Michael's voice.
And she finds him. Is he okay?
She finds him in a cell. And incredibly, he's free from the chip's control. It's this huge moment of relief.
But they're not out yet, are they?
Nope. More agents appear just as they're about to escape. But Emma stands her ground this time. She raises her grandmother's cross defiantly.
On the light.
Metatron's light flares again, destroying the agents. Then this joyful reunion between Emma and Michael. He tells her he had a vision too of the Son of Man setting him free.
So his faith is restored too. Amazing.
It really is. They escape the tower just as it starts to tremble violently. The whole city seems to be descending into further chaos, still under that ominous blood-red moon.
And then the climax.
Then the climax. Metatron appears high above them. He announces the arrival of the throne of the coming king.
The sky opens.
The sky literally tears open. An ocean of fire is revealed. The radiant Merkava, the divine chariot throne surrounded by legions of angels. And seated on the throne, the Son of Man.
And it's just, wow.
The scale of it.
Immense. Emma and Michael just instinctively fall to their knees, totally overwhelmed, and Emma whispers again, questioning her worthiness in the face of such majesty.
What does the Son of Man say this time?
He speaks directly to her. Arise, Emma. He declares that his truth is her shield, and the deceiver's reign is ending. Now.
And does she see the end?
She sees a final vision, Vancouver engulfed in purifying fire. Lucian Barn defeated, kneeling, a new, perfect city descending from heaven, and she sees Michael radiant beside her, and even her grandmother looking on with pride.
Redemption and restoration.
Completely. Then the Son of Man gives his final command, return and prepare my way. Trumpets sound, the sky opens like a gateway to eternity.
How does it end for Emma? It ends with her holding Michael's hand. Her doubt is gone, replaced by this profound sense of divine truth. She knows Varn's machines are still a threat, the fight isn't totally over on the ground, but she's ready.
She's ready, confident in the approaching light, the coming kingdom, ready to fight. Her faith now a sword, her heart filled with hope. She remembers her grandmother's words about the red moon and affirms it. The Lord is coming.
What a powerful conclusion to Jansen's edition. It really brings that ancient apocalyptic framework into a modern context.
And that wraps up our final deep dive on Enoch, specifically focusing on Erik H. Jansen's For Enoch, taking that ancient story and crashing it right into, well, a possible future.
He really did blend those elements incredibly well, didn't he? The ancient prophecies, the warnings about fallen angels and corruption mapped onto this modern dystopian setting with technological temptation.
Yeah, the themes just resonate. Spiritual resilience against overwhelming tech, the idea of divine power ultimately triumphing over worldly or even technologically enhanced corruption.
It's a very contemporary spin on the Enochian narrative, exploring how those ancient spiritual battles might play out today.
It definitely leaves you thinking, doesn't it, about, the role of faith or maybe just individual conviction and action when you're faced with these massive technological and societal changes we see all around us.
Absolutely. Emma's journey from feeling small and insignificant to playing this key role, it really makes you consider the relevance of these, very old ideas in our very modern world. What power does individual belief hold today?
A potent question to leave things on. Thank you for joining us on this entire journey through the books of Enoch, and especially this look at Jansen's compelling continuation.